At Villanova, we believe in community and in ourselves. We create, adapt, discover. And when confronted by uncertainty, we don't stand idly by. We never have. We get involved, lead by example, even when things are tough. Especially when things are tough. We take action because Villanovans are like that. Stronger together. Ignite change. Go Nova.
Why, hello there, everybody, and welcome to the EGFC Overwatch 2 scene. Septulant and Twin Salty on the mic, and we are excited because we have not one, not two, not three, but three incredible series to jump into today, starting with Villanova University and Southern Utah University. Salty, before we get into the teams, before we jump into the series, how are you doing, my man? How's your day been going so far?
It's going well, man. I can't wait. You know, we're back. EGFC, spring split. Here we are. And I can't wait to see how these two teams try and kick off the spring season with, honestly, a battle with two teams trying to, get out of that bottom half of the standings. And I think, one of them could do it today.
Absolutely. As statistics often work, somebody has to walk away with a win in this best of five. And hopefully we go all the way to number 5 simply for the entertainment factor alone. Both these teams really want to put another win in that column. And of these 5, I enjoy 4 of the maps, Salty, so if we want to jump on over to those and discuss kind of what we're looking at here in week number 1. The first map going to be one of my favorites in the game, Ilios, followed by my favorite in the game, Kings Row. Then there's another map. But after that, Circuit Royale and Busan are right around the corner if we get to maps number 4 and 5. Salty, how do you feel about the map pool we're looking at this week?
I think it'll show us a lot of different looks. Obviously, we haven't had an EGFC game in nearly 2 months, so there's been a lot of balance changes going in. Roadhog got a pretty massive nerf, as well. Ramatra is now, fully inside the meta. I think we'll see a lot of him today, and already going to be seeing a little bit of him here in Lighthouse as Tyler and Dolphin both wanting to go to the new tank. And we'll have to wait and see if that'll actually pay off with Nova actually pulling out the Pharah right away.
Yeah, so this is a Blue Falcon Classic. I remember I crack a joke about living up to the name every time because they really like to play this Pharah, and they can do it well if given the opportunity. Now, unfortunately, you're walking right into 2 hit scan and a Ramatra who, he can hit you no matter what distance you find yourself out in. Blue Falcon will, unfortunately, be the first one to fall, sending the Legend 27 who gets the res but gets their own life in return. So no matter what, Villanova falls into a deficit. Now, this one a little more important than losing the Pharah because that's a lot of healing offline, and all of a sudden, Vandervaart alone, this poor Ana, no mobility, some of the most healing output in the game, desperate to keep every single member of this team alive and just cannot live to the task as that solo healer. Blue Falcon will fall, and Southern Utah University, they take that first point cap. They're already 10% done, Salty, and something tells me they are not going to stop this fight anytime soon.
No, I don't think it'll stop anytime soon, especially Villanova already making a swap. Blue Falcon realizing, yeah, maybe running far into that Soldier and Sojourn, maybe not the greatest ideas to be swapping over to that Cassidy. You wonder if the speed will be a difference here, because Villanova do not have that Lucio in play, so then Utah able to speed their tank in and out, and Blue Falcon just cannot seem to catch a break.
I say this a lot, Salty. Lucio did not have a 100% pick rate in the Overwatch League playoffs and grand finals for no reason. He is an incredibly viable character. He's incredibly important to find levels of success and to get your tank and DPS in and out as fast as they need to be. But with that Lucio offline, it's going to be difficult. I spend a lot of time harping on Ana. I think she's in a very difficult place. I think she's a very hard character to play. And just about anything she can do, someone can do better. And I would love to see Villanova stretch their wings a little bit, bring out these more meta supports, keep the Mercy. She's fantastic right now. Let's see a Lucio. Let's see a Kiriko. Reladox does fall, so Villanova finds the numbers advantage for the first time this series. Here's the Nano. Here's the Annihilation. A terrifying combination. The only reason Ana is being played, but unfortunately, it is that Lucio speed boost that sets the pace of the fight, Salty, and those ultimates find nothing.
A beautiful disengage because of that Lucio speed. And yes, Villanova are able to cap point, but I don't think this will be able to fight quite yet.
Yeah, this is going to be a nightmare here. Dolphin already able to find Blue Falcon. Here comes the Visor, and Legend 27 just cannot get out of the way in time. Nate the Cat should not be far behind, and Villanova passes it over seemingly just as fast as they had gained it. That may be the last true fight, Salty, as there's only going to be 25 seconds for a recontest from Villanova.
Villanova are banking on the fact that Nate the Cat can get something from this overclock, but so far, they just haven't been able to lock down anything. Reladox has been winning that Sojourn 1v1 even without that Mercy pocket. They're going to try and pull out the Junk right here just to see if they can get a little bit of the impact damage.
Means a lot to me as a local Junkrat player, but it's going to be difficult to really turn much around when you don't have the space you need. You know they've got plenty of ultimates in this block. You know you've got the Lucio beat online, and the Annihilation was just around the corner. It's enough to scare them away. Nate goes for the sliding, gets their head removed from their shoulders, and Southern Utah walks away with a 100-17 win on stage number 1. So Salty, can you identify quickly kind of a problem, I guess? Kind of what was it that made it so easy for Utah to find that 100-17?
Well, I think initially was the fact that Southern Utah had that speed, like we talked about. We're able to set up on point first, kind of around the cages, and then once they were able to capture point, it gave them enough time for their DPS to set up those angles, so no matter where the Wildcats tried to push in, there was always crossfire from both DPS trying to lock them down, and Villanova will try and deal with that now. Legend 27 off the Mercy and over to that Lucio to try and get to that point fast.
Well, not only that, but Vandervoort onto the Kiriko as well. So they've got the meta. They've completely shaken it down. They're going to be bringing out Sigma, Sojourn, Junkrat. Junkrat maybe not meta, but you can't argue that he's nothing lower than at least a B tier, if not an A tier character right now in the meta that Overwatch seems to be working with. And it's going to be the Sigma looking to make space around Statue, but Ramatra Dolphin has already fallen onto the point. Accretion catches the hands early, but they're going to continue to power through the shields. This power punch from Dolphin is incredibly strong at taking down these squishier characters. Luckily enough, the disengage does fall from Villanova. They don't lose anybody yet. Tyler gets close, but close doesn't matter if you can keep yourself standing. 5-5 point cap in favor of Southern Utah. Villanova a complete disengage as they try to take this point once again.
And again, it's Villanova just not being able to really settle down and try to figure out, hey, this is where we're going to fight. We're going to hold our ground. Southern Utah just basically push them off a point and already can just settle exactly where they want to fight.
Molly does come through quick for Dolphin, slows down the entire team, but the Suzu gets them off of the disengage. They want to make space, but they need to take it as well. Sure, you can play back. Sure, you can make sure you don't get eliminated, but if you don't get into the fray, if you don't get into the fight, you're never going to touch the point, and that is the entire point of this game mode here in Overwatch. Tyler B goes down to Dolphin, and the disengage has to begin once again. That is 3 disengages in a row here, Salty, and Villanova hasn't even seen the point since that initial fight.
They have to commit at this point, right?
You gotta
throw something in. As Reladoc's able to pick up Blue Falcon for the stagger. Will be a little bit of a wait now for the Wildcats to get in, but like you eventually just gotta press the go button. Even if it doesn't work, try and force Southern Utah to make a mistake because they're just sitting nice and pretty here at the stroke.
You're going to be able to burn half the time bank already down, nearly 60%, so only 40 seconds remain, and Villanova going to have a lot of ults to work with. They drop the beat, trying to make the space, trying to cancel out the Annihilation, but it has yet to be procced from the side of Dolphin. I presume they're just going to wait it out and press that Q button just like that. The chase down onto Vandervoort takes Kitsune offline, and the rest of the team, like dominoes, will fall in line. 30 seconds remain in Southern Utah. I'm going to be honest, Salty, have not broken a sweat on the second stage of Helios.
They look as comfortable as me just sleeping on a hammock, man. They are feeling so good about themselves right now, and Villanova has only used 1 ultimate as well. You got to throw something at the wall here if you're Villanova. Try and set it up with a Riptire, at least draw out that Susan from Medic, and go from there.
Here comes that Riptire. Not sure who we're looking for exactly, but even one can make it happen. The legend is gone. Vandervoort falls. A 2-piece from Blue Falcon does tie it up, but with only 3 seconds left, they have to get onto the point. The touch will be happening from Tyler, but you sacrificed the rest of your team to get there. There's no way you're winning the 1v4 or the 2v5 that's happening right now. Blue Falcon is already gone. The punches from Dolphin going to hit even harder right now as Southern Utah is looking to seal the deal on Helios. Stage 1, they lost a little bit of action, but instead, they're breaking through quickly to find some more, and that is Southern Utah winning map number 1 of this series.
Southern Utah coming back from the winter break, being like, yeah, we're here now. We're settling in a little bit more. They were 1-4 in the fall split, and so far they're looking like a team that has definitely changed itself a little bit, and a lot of it due to Dolphin, who I think has finally settled in on a tank hero that they're truly comfortable on. Yeah, that was a big issue they had in fall, was that Dolphin never seemed to be completely comfortable in the role they were playing. This time around, they were owning the Ramatra 1v1 when that was going on, and just Villanova had no answers.
Without a doubt, the Ramatra makes all the difference, and the game has truly changed in the 2 months while we've been gone. A lot of the characters have been nerfed or buffed, respectively. Ramatra has made his appearance. Kiriko herself has changed quite a lot, but not enough to knock her out of that meta slot. So map 1 does come to a close, with map 2 just over the horizon. Going to be King's Row. Like I said, a map very near and dear to my heart. As a Reinhardt player, I'd love to see my man Ryan, but I completely understand why we aren't going to. You got to wonder, Salty, are they just going to be running this same meta? Are they going to change their compositions due to the meta? map, or is it just going to be, if it ain't broke, I don't see a need to fix it?
See Southern Utah changing, no. I think they're going to keep the Ramatra.
Sure.
He's definitely playable, especially in the first 2 phases of this map. You could say that maybe Orisa is better at certain points, but I think that's the route Villanova needs to go. If they're able to, just try something different, because obviously the Sigma did not work. If you're able to get the Circuit Royale later on in map 4,
that's his
then
map.
Yes, the Sigma will be great. That is legit his map where he is just busted. So I am wondering to see what changes will they make. I would want the Orisa, and I don't mind the Junkrat here more than I did on Ilios. I think
Agreed.
it's relatively the right idea, maybe just not the right map for him.
Absolutely. Ilios is a very difficult map to make Junkrat work on. I think the only one that it's really viable is Lighthouse, which we did see in the final 6 seconds of the stage. You know, it was Farah otherwise. So bringing Junkrat out on King's Row, he gets a lot of value here. It's part of the reason I love it. You know, Ryan and Junk are right behind me right now. Those are my dudes. Like, those are the characters I love to play, and they both get an incredible amount of value here. I do want to jump back to a point you made, Salty, that I wholeheartedly agree with. I want Villanova to go to Orisa. I'm going to be honest. She is an easy character right now. She's incredibly strong. She's incredibly survivable, and she work wonders, just helping your team find consistency, to stay alive, to not get melted down by a Reaper, by a Ramatra. It can be very easy to create space on Orisa. If I can play Orisa, they can play Orisa. That's what I'm saying right now, and I can play Orisa. So I want Villanova to take that leap, to take that lurch. Even if you're not comfortable on the character, there's not much to know about the character. You get in there, you count your cooldowns, you manage your resources, and you make space for your team, which King's Row, I mean, escort payload entirely is about the space you can make.
Exactly, and that was the one issue they had, was making the actual space, because Sigma is so great at defending space, he's not great at creating space.
Right.
And that was their whole issue, especially over on Ruins. They couldn't get past Choke for 80%, it seemed like, until they finally pushed a few ultimates in, and at that point, you lose both of your supports to a Death Blossom in the back, and you really can't do anything from that point. So I would love the Orisa pick here. Southern Utah, man, I got to give credit to them. Going into this, we're like, man, they're 1-4. They had a pretty rough ball split, and they're looking revitalized. They're looking great at the moment. So I'm curious to see how they will do today and later on as well. Nova will stick to the Ramatra for now, and at least Blue Falcon going over to that Hanzo, maybe for a little bit of shield break to try and help their tank out.
I have thoughts, Salty. It's Rom can work. Very strong character. Annihilation is one of the cheekiest ultimates in the game right now. You don't even have to hit somebody to be doing damage to find eliminations, and maybe that's kind of what they're looking for. But I just feel like we're going to see a lot of rush down from Southern Utah, and you can definitely tell by what they've locked into the moment. They want to take point almost immediately. They want to go in with the Discord Orb, they want to go in with the damage, and they don't want to do any of that actually as the gates open, because they're going to change the entire comp once again. 3 snipers, 3.5 snipers on the board, that half being Sojourn, of course. A sniper when she wants to be, but for the time being, Nate the Cat doesn't want to peek these angles, doesn't want to risk that Widow kind of 1v1, and as the Sojourn comes out from the other side, we're still rocking with the snipers. We got the Ash Sojourn from Southern Utah. Power Punch has to be blocked out by Dolphin early, as Tyler B was winning that fight. Unfortunately, overextends a bit, allows the DPS of Southern Utah to sneak into the back line and find 1, maybe even 2 eliminations. Asian Boy tearing up Villanova's defensive line right now, and it looks like that they already be the first point cap.
And now the script kind of changes, because now it's because of the Mercy pocket being in play that Southern Utah is playing extremely well. Because they're playing now not around Dolphin as much, but around Asian Boy and Relidox. Can they find the picks? Let Dolphin just take a lot of the damage up front. It builds up Kitsune Rush. And already they're able to capture first point. Villanova kind of left clueless on what just happened. The only bright side is you are already 3/4 of the way to an annihilation.
Yeah, I mean, that is incredible. 75% on that annihilation. It looks like Tyler B has been able to match it pretty consistently. Surprising, especially considering the dominance that first fight truly was. Dolphin, you got to keep shooting that power block. You can get through it if the team focuses, but the supports are there to keep them up and running, and Tyler B has to hold as to emerge with the team and try to play the corner of the bookstore. Gets slowed out, brings up the shield, and looks for any kind of poke damage. 1 elimination opens the floodgates for Villanova to find success, and the annihilation is going to be there to try and answer it out. No defensive ultimates. They're trying to run, but with the Lucio speed, they just can't get away fast enough. That is why Lucio is important. Southern Utah didn't have it, and they lose the fight because of it. They could not contest fast enough, and Villanova rolls through them. Okay, they lost the first point, but at least they've stabilized here, Salty.
And they've stabilized probably in the best place you could in Streets phase, right? By this archway. You force Southern Utah to try and either bust through or rotate all the way through high ground, which not a lot of teams are willing to do. But the other thing is, Dolphin now has his Annihilation.
Yeah, and that Annihilation is a terrifying ult. We are nowhere near the beat from the Legend 27, and I don't think we're going to be seeing the action break yet. Oh my goodness, it's not even the Annihilation that breaks the curse. It's going to be the Kitsune from Zemetic that just gives the green light to Southern Utah to dominate Kings Row, point 1.5. This is it, a clean play. 4 ults coming into this upcoming fight. Villanova needs to change something salty. Do you by half know what it is?
I think the Reaper swap actually isn't that bad of an idea here for Blue Falcon. Try and just be a nuisance to Dolphin if you can. Also flank a little bit. Just put some pressure on Asian Boy and Reladox in the back. I think it's at least the right direction of what they need to do. But again, a lot of it is Southern Utah has the tools right now, and they get the opening pick as well to kind of shut the door on Villanova really being able to recontest.
Recontesting is the name of the game after all, and Villanova does not find that opening. The Bob, I presume, might be used here. I don't think they're even going to need it to find the success of that second point cap. They get it essentially for free as Villanova chooses to hold the recontest. They want to regroup as a full 5 and go into this next fight prepared for the worst, and the worst, it very well may be salty. One of these ults is going to be popped, and I can't wait to find out which one it is. I presume the Annihilation, but I think Southern Utah wants to see if they even need it. Here comes Bob, already finds the Blue Falcon, clips the wings of that bird early. Vandervaart can't make it out in time either, and Tyler B gets his head clipped by Reladox as well. Another clean fight win for Southern Utah University. And I mean, Salty, it's amazing how well this team can hold on to their ults. Their discipline is incredible.
And they're winning these straight vanilla fights. They're not needing to throw that many ultimates into the fray. They have yet to use 3 of their ultimates, almost back with their second Kitsune rush. And Villanova are just getting desperate at this point. They just gotta throw something.
Desperation's the name of the game. Reladox does find Vandervaart, so Villanova loses that Kitsune, they lose the Suzu, and they lose a heck of a lot of damage off the back of it. Zemetic will fall, Blue Falcon gone. Nate disappeared from the Mortal Coil, and Villanova desperate to try and hold this point, but just can't break through that Annihilation while they get annihilated by the DPS line of Southern Utah University. An incredible 3-point cap from Southern Utah as they have almost the entire time bank still on the clock.
That was quite an incredible push there from them. That was... Did their supports even die other than that one fight?
If they did, I couldn't tell you. If they did, it must have been one time, yeah, because it truly did not seem like it.
No. It seems like Zemetic and Compress especially are playing their lives so incredibly well. I think so far in this series, they've maybe died 2 or 3 times, 1.5 maps in. And that is how Southern Utah have such good survivability, is because their supports are playing very safe, but also getting in positions to help out their DPS to perform. Getting Dolphin in there. It's like, no, if you go in, we got you. The heals are coming, and you can just be in that front line consistently and be an absolute nuisance. And so far, the Thunderbirds, man, are they playing well.
Tearing it up, my man. I mean, it has been an incredible performance. Southern Utah, like you said, 1-4. Last time we saw them, they joined in the middle of the previous split. And if I'm not mistaken, I can't remember off the top of my head, I feel like they had a really hard schedule. Like, I remember looking at it and I was like, oh my goodness, like what a rough way to kick things off here for them at EGF. But things seem to be looking up for them. They definitely took the break. They definitely changed things up. Like you mentioned, Kiriko, Ramatra, Southern Utah, they're falling into a lot of comfortability. You know, 3 new characters added to Overwatch 2, and there they are, you know. Junker Queen, of course, can't be played when the other tank is, but the point stands. In Southern Utah, maybe it was all about that patience, waiting for the right character to make their appearance, and Ramatra might have been that saving grace. They are incredible today.
They are playing wonderfully, and I think now they go back over to the Lucio, so now they will try and change the pace up yet again and throw the Wildcats off. We have a Bastion in play also, man. Okay, Villanova's okay. We're going to try something completely different here on this King's Row attack.
I love the execution. This is something my friends and I do. Now, unfortunately, it's been changed up a little bit. The original idea is to speed around the far side of Statue and melt one of the early DPS if you can. Occasionally, you can swap Ryan for a Roadhog and pull them toward the Bastion. Almost guarantee yourselves the elimination. But taking the high ground is a very intelligent play. The problem is, Salty, is the risk worth the reward? They are already half of a minute into this single push, not even a tick on the board, and if they lose this fight, they're gonna burn well over a minute in this attempt. Nate the Cat looking for a shot on the Kiriko, just can't find it, and Zemetic dominates the Bastion to help Southern Utah try and win this fight. There's that teleport. She's trying to make it out the Shadow Step, just can't find it, and that is an attempt at spawn recovery from Villanova. I've got to say, incredible job from Southern Utah there.
what a just a beautiful rotate from them. Like realizing as soon as they see Villanova go into the building, like, you know, we just gotta rotate through hotel.
Oh.
There's no reason for us to stick around, and that is a crucial stagger as well. And it seems like, well, Dolphin, I'm not sure what Dolphin's game plan was there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I mean, hey, if you're on the side of Villanova, you're stoked. You got to do what you got to do, right? Maybe they were trying to farm the annihilation as fast as possible, but Villanova falling much more into their comfort picks. I'm always a pro comfort pick kind of guy. If this is the character you think you're going to do better with, you might as well lock it in and try to be the hero your team needs. A lot of stall potential from the side of Villanova, and Dolphin matching the Reinhardt. This is the best day of my life. We got a Rein duel here on King's Row, and Dolphin learning the hard way how much damage a tank form Bastion can truly do, and he's out of there. Reinhardt missing the rest of Southern Utah. Are they going to try to tuck tail, but instead it's actually a double down. They know the Bastion's gone. Bob farms a lot of damage and forces Tyler to split their focus. The shield completely annihilated, hides behind the card, blocks out a lot of damage. The cart was capped, so this is no time lost for Southern Utah. Blue Falcon falls very late into that fight, and they got the cart, but at what cost? That was a very confusing combat.
A very confusing fight, but I think if you're Villanova, you take it.
Absolutely.
Southern Utah are not even in a position to hold Archway. They've told all the way back here near this corner, and they just don't know what. Well, now they're going in with Kitsune.
You got the Kitsune. The beat is going to be canceled by the Legend 27, so they want to make sure the team stays up and running, and Dolphin might not be able to say the same. Critical HP. Oh, the artillery strike. It's just going to cover all of King's Row point 1.5. Blue Falcon deep into the back line, reads the coach gun like a children's book, and now just has to win the 1v1. Now it's a 1v none. Vanderhort gets traded out by Compress. They're now in the Lucio, giving the team the speed and aggression they need for success. Nate the Cat taken down, and while things started strong for Villanova, looks like they might be getting just a little bit worse here, Salty. Blue Falcon gone, Dolphin falls, and Villanova trying to pick themselves up by the bootstraps, but just can't find it. Southern Utah will win that fight.
Rilladox is a man on a mission right now.
No doubt.
Showing that even though the nerfs came through, nerfs her a little bit, she's still one of the best DPS in the game right now. I don't, as we said like pre-game, she is not mandatory anymore, but still very much heavily advised to pick. Especially if you're running this kind of composition where you just want to cause chaos and shoot from so many different angles.
And shooting from many angles has been the name of the game for Southern Utah so far. They're playing this meta, this comp, exactly like they want to. Maybe there's a little bit of action here coming down this final stretch of the second point. The tank form comes out early, and I think they're aware of it. They know this can kind of be their go button. There's no Bastion to mow them down. And even an overclock commit from Rilladox. It's shocking, but hey, if it gets the job done, you might as well keep the gears grinding. 15-player kill streak for Rilladox. Still 2.5 minutes. Plenty of time for Villanova to change things up.
I would say plenty of time, but time is running out in the terms of can you even get a close time bank if you actually finish this match?
Most
that
definitely.
would be my worry now for the Wildcats, because of the amount of time the Thunderbirds got on their attack. You know you don't have a ton of time to play with here, and especially now 2.5 minutes left. You're banking on the fact Tyler can at least make some space here with that shatter and win the Rhine duel.
That's a Junkrat play if I've ever seen one. The classic nade mine combo takes down most squishy characters. We see the block from Tyler B for Tyler B, but the rest of the team was not blocked out, and now Tyler swinging for the fences, trying to get that Sojourn down with a hammer. Does not reach high enough. Does not drop the shatter, which I'm stoked to see because you've got sub 2 minutes. You're going to need every ult you can get in this next fight. Because this next fight, this is tough to explain, but I think the next fight is going to be the last true constructed fight. After that, I think the panic's going to set in. I think we might get a lot of a bleed, kind of 1 by 1 going in. Hopefully Villanova can keep their wits about them and go into this next combat ready to strike.
And they have the tools already, but I love, again, another beautiful rotate there from Southern Utah. They flank over on the high ground, they catch him by surprise, and the Wildcats didn't even know what hit him.
Now, this is just a very scripted play coming out from Tyler B here. Shatters into the shield. You hate to see it. Gets countercharged. Kitsune obliterates him from this mortal coil, and that is an easy fight win for Villanova. They read that Ryan like a book, and it's going to help them possibly win this second map. Already over a minute, this push has cost them, and it is not a successful one, Salty.
No, it is not working. I mean, a Dolphin, yeah, the hammer does not reach that far, my friend. You're going to have to call in a little bit of, yeah, there you go. Call in a little bit of support, and his face crowd. This is... Well, I'll give credit to Blue Falcon. You're at least able to get the trade, but
an eye for an eye
opens it up a little bit for Nova. Legend 27 gets one as well.
Yeah, I mean, an eye for an eye here. A bit of luck, perhaps, but it works out well. The Junk does find that kill, gives his life to the cause, and it might help Villanova cap this second point. However, nobody can kill Zemetic, and that just bought another 10-12 seconds on the clock. The recontest from Compress is going to buy just enough time for Dolphin to return with that Earth Shatter, and it could be a nasty one! Nate the Cat will fall to an early 300 damage directly onto the skull of that Sojourn to beat Team Southern Utah up and running. And while it may be close, Salty, close, I'm going to count hand grenades and horseshoes and Gorilla Dogs cleaning this team up right now. An incredible job from Southern Utah. It is all about the patience from this team that's giving them such a dominant success.
And I even love the swap there late from Asian Boy. Go over to the side. It was Villanova on the Wrecking Ball. It's like, no, you're not going to be able to play that, or at least the way you want to, and then the cat gets staggered out, and somebody even touched. The answer is no.
Now, I hate to say my analysis was correct about that last fight being the last true fight, because they lost it. It took over a minute. There was a wrecking ball kind of in a moment where the Rhine could have absolutely made it back to the cart. They were up by 2. They weren't able to kill a single Kiriko, and it kind of all fell apart. The panic set in. They were all worried about the cart. Nobody's looking at the enemies. And I think it could have cost them that final fight, unfortunately. The second map does come to a close, and that means our third one is right around the corner. Now, traditionally, we have to decide whether or not we want to take a break here, and I'm going to ask production to ask the players if they just want to run it down to map number 3. I know Salty and I are more than willing. We'll kind of get a read back on that in just a minute. But Salty, while we've got this discussion coming forwards, we still have not seen the Battle Cattle. Orisa has still not made her appearance, and I'm really starting to wonder why. You're skipping Orisa to go to Rhine. I love him to death, but one of, if not the worst tank in the game right now. It makes no sense to me.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's getting buffs in Season 3. Right?
Okay, they're Fire Strike buffs, and they're not going to change anything, but that's a whole different argument. That's a whole different...
We'll see what they do. I'm hoping Rhine meta is always one of the most fun metas, so we're praying here. So, I don't mind them for swinging for the fences there with a wacky comp. They're probably all in their comfort picks. We've seen the Bastion come out from Villanova before. It did not work, though. Like, it did not work, and it will definitely not work on push. So... my worry is, what do you go to now? Honestly, at this point in time, I think you just have to go the Ramattra. And even if it's not working every single time, he's still one of the top meta tanks with Orisa for a reason, especially that ultimate. And you just got to make sure you pair the Lucio with it. Because every time they played the Ramattra, there was no Lucio. And there was a reason why that was not working. So for the Wildcats, we'd love to see them at least try that out a little bit, even if they use it as a scrim now for next week. Where you can, why not practice something that you know is probably going to be meta for at least a little bit longer?
Yeah, I mean, at least until the next mid-season patch, right? Or the next upcoming update. We know what's coming in these newer updates, and Orisa and Ram are nowhere near them. The only change being that Ram's Annihilation Ultimate has a maximum cap of 20 seconds. That's hardly a nerf, my man. Like, I don't know any Rams out there that are even getting to 20 seconds with that ultimate. Maybe at the highest level for sure, but... I don't know. Not exactly what I want to be seeing. I'd love to see the damage reduction a little bit, maybe on that ult, but like you said, it's Ram and Orisa all day long right now. I don't think that's going to be changing. I think Orisa is a very strong answer to Ramattra right now. The Javelin can knock him away from the team, and the Javelin spin can kind of, you can hero play it, right? And force him away so you're the only one in his radius. It helps the ultimate do a lot less, get a lot less value, and scare the rest of the team into hard focusing you in that moment. If you've got a Suzu, if you've got a Nano, if you've got a Transcendence, you keep your tank up and running. Ram's ult kind of goes null and void there. It's a lot of hypotheticals, it's a lot of what ifs, but that's what this game is at its core, is what if we blank. And you have to be doing that blank better than your opponents. I preach comfort picks often. Bastion did not work. If we see it again, I'm worried about it because Push is a map that punishes poor playstyles. It really gets dominant, and the spawns are devastating. I mean, it is just disgusting how long it can take a single player to walk back to a team fight if they've got low or no mobility. Now, let's say in particular, it's a windy one. It's a weird one, and I don't think it has the proper setup for a Bastion to find success. Let's see a Hanzo. Let's see Ashe again. I'm down for the Junkrat again if these fights continue to happen in kind of that main area where the fights first kick off. There's so many what-ifs here, but Salty, Villanova's got to change something if they want to find success. Maybe it doesn't happen fast enough to find success today, but like you said, even if it's a loss, it can be a scrim. It can be something to learn from. You've got the VODs to go back and watch. You tried meta, didn't work, but it worked better than the second map where you tried comfort. Comfort didn't fall in line. Okay, it's map number 3. What can we do different here to line things up?
Exactly. Try and match the best. I can't speak, man. Best of both worlds, because yes, the Ramattra is probably the better pick here, but you went to Lucio with the Rhine. So just try it this time with the Ramattra. And as you said, part of this game a lot is what if we do this? But the other half of it is the other team is doing this, we should do this. Because especially this meta right now, it is back and forth. Like, okay, if I do this, we need to change to counter this.
Right.
So I want to see them maybe at least try out a little more counterplay. I would like to see that. And as you said, push is such a punishing game mode, especially early on with how far away the spawns can be. If you are not very disciplined in where you want to take fights and how to disengage, you will get punished very early and you will build up a deficit you just cannot climb back from.
Yeah, without a doubt. And big shout out to our producer and observer, Aeon, for these beautiful angles, beautiful views of the map. And it looks like we're seeing a change here. Fascinating. The side of Southern Utah University, they want to shake things up a little bit. They want to try a new composition, Zemetic, going into the DPS line, where Reladox is falling onto an Ana. So a very interesting change. Maybe this is a new composition they want to try. Maybe they're feeling confident and they know they can switch things up and still find success. Villanova, though, they're bringing a good old-fashioned meta out, and they're also bringing out Happy Sparrow, a very talented support player on this team, one that I'm surprised it took until map 3 for us to see.
As well as Taiga as well. Taiga, so
oh yeah, you're right.
The soldiers, so they're running the double hit scan that they wanted to run earlier this time with the Lucio Ramachu. So I think honestly, compositionally, it's the best comp they've ran tonight.
I have to agree with you there. I think this makes a lot of sense. They're bringing in 2 players. Maybe these are kind of push specialists. Maybe they weren't able to make it for the first couple of games, but they're here for game 3, and that's what matters. Junker Queen, she's a lot of fun. She got buffed, but not really enough to be meta, so to speak. She's playable, sure, but if the enemy team focuses you down, you're a pretty easy target, just like Zemetic was in that primary fight. Here comes the axe once again. Every successful target you hit takes 2 seconds off the cooldown, so Dolphin can get up close and personal. They can be using that axe every 5 to 7 seconds. Now, unfortunately, that one's going to miss, so it's the full 8, but hey, the respawn is going to be the full 10. That's a fight win for Villanova University. Asian Boy finds Taiga. Can they get back to the center? Yes, they can, as Reladox goes down. But then Utah should be tucking tail and trying to get back to Swan to group up.
Yeah, at this point, you just got to get out of dodge if you're Southern Utah. And at least that was a decent disengage to where they should be able to fight this probably about the 15 to 25 meter mark here for the bot, which is definitely not bad at all. The JQ pick is a little weird. I think she could creep into meta, so I don't blame them maybe trying something
I can agree.
if they feel they have this series down. But yeah, I guess the Ramachu is not a horrible match.
I mean, don't forget about the Jotes era when she came out, right? Like, there was already a time she was meta. They just changed her up, and I feel like she's kind of got Reinhardt syndrome, you know? It's going to take one decent buff. All of a sudden, she's the only played tank, the way Ryan has done so many times before. Now, right now, tank don't even matter because it's Asian Boy having a field day out there. A 3-piece on the overclock. Let's make it a 4 as Taiga goes down as well. Incredible performance. Villanova did take the lead by less than a meter, so it'll be snatched right back by Southern Utah University. But a lead is a lead, Salty, and it shows signs of life for Villanova here on Coliseum.
There are signs of life for the Wildcats, and they
don't know.
Just gotta hide. And now pairs up with the rest of their team, and Southern Utah going to be kicking themselves a little bit. They just did not turn to the left.
Yeah, they probably still don't know. She just popped up with the rest of the team. They probably didn't even process that she was right around that corner. I'd love to see the annihilation right now from Tyler B. Oh my goodness, a phenomenal play. And Zemetic's blade is there in an attempt to cancel it out. To cancel it out, it certainly shall. That's 2 for Zemetic and 1 for Tyler B. That Elam being Zemetic. So it's definitely a net gain for Southern Utah University. Villanova, they put a lot on the table and all their chips are stolen. That is a complete fold from VU, and Southern Utah probably going to be able to count first point before a full team fight can take effect.
As long as they get on the bot, I guess.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess there's like, no, we're just not going to touch the bot for a little bit. Now they get back to it. Shout out Dolphin, I will say, especially playing the JQ into Kiriko. It's probably the hardest counter you could have. But they were tracking exactly when Suzu is being used every single time by Happy Sparrow.
It's a big part of the reason Junker Queen fell out of the meta, because they introduced her and then immediately introduced a character that countered everything she does. But like you said, if you can play that cooldown game, if you can play that resource management game, she's a very successful character, even against the Kiriko. I think even more so with a Roadhog on the field than a Ramatra. Roadhog does not have a lot to answer the damage she can bring to the table. Wow, phenomenal shot from Reladox there, trying to put a 3-piece on the board, but Asian Boy steals it away. Visor from Taiga. I just don't like it. The rest of your team was dead. You're not going to take down a full 5 fast enough to prevent that first point cap with a team kill for Southern Utah University. They're taking that first point. They've taken a dominant lead on Coliseum.
Dominant, that is for sure. As Taiga now swaps over to the Reaper. And this is what we were talking about earlier. If you fall too far behind in the first half of this game mode, it become a mountain to climb back from. And I think even if this bot gets to the 100-meter mark, it is looking very rough for Villanova.
Oh, perhaps some success. What a commanding shout from Dolphin. Such a small number one that I'll highlight a little bit more in this fight. Taiga is going to fall, and Villanova back against the wall. Nate gone, Sparrow gone, Villanova probably gone on Coliseo and the series. Southern Utah, not a better way to start off the season than a 3-0 victory. It shows the rest of the teams here at the EGFC we did not come to mess around. We are looking for that spot in the playoffs. And at a 1-4 score line, they are very much still within the possibility of making that playoff.
Oh, 1,000%. As you said, a commanding shout that last fight. What a shout that was. It saves Asian Boy, and they can just go on in from there. And now Zemetic with the Tsunia Rush as well. They're just going to be supercharged. They're throwing everything at the wall at this point, man. It's working.
Everything at the wall and none of it able to find purchase from Villanova, but Southern Utah, they have painted that wall red and black. The Thunderbirds, a dominant series from them, 3-0 on the clock. I've got to say, I'm impressed through and through. They just led the charge, they found their footing, and they never lost it for even a moment. I believe this is the 4-man rampage coming out from the Junker Queen. Let's see. Yeah, but no, this is that moment where Kiriko gets a bunch of eliminations off the back. But there's the Suzu to boot. Is it Suzu? More like Huzu. Let me find another elimination on the board. Time after time, Southern Utah cleans it up, and I'm impressed. You know, that team had a lot of strife, a lot of troubles back in this fall split, but as the spring split opens, a brand new split and a brand new team coming out from Southern Utah. Very well done.
And I will say, we actually got some outdated standings. They were 1-7 going into this game. So the fact that they were 1-7 and that kind of a win to start off winter, all I gotta say is teams better watch out for Southern Utah. I get it. I was looking through the schedule. They had Tennessee. They had UTA. They had some of the top dogs in this league. Now they may be playing more teams around their level, and I think this is the way you wanted to kick off the season for Thunderbirds. And Villanova, again, it's going back to the drawing board. It's kind of deja vu from the 2021 season. A lot of this right now, because they just couldn't figure out what they wanted to run, and by the time they did, it was too late.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that possibility for Villanova as well. You know, it's a free tip. Just learn Orisa right now. Like, she's so strong. Maybe she's not a Ramatra, but like, she can successfully counter almost any tank in the game right now. She's so unbelievably viable, and there's not a lot out there that can take her down without a lot of effort behind it. So learn the Orisa, utilize it, take the free wins that she can help give you, and see what you can work with afterwards. We're gonna go ahead and throw it to a super short break here. We're gonna pull somebody in from Southern Utah and hear a little bit from them about how they found such a great success here in this first series of the split. See you right back here in just a few.
And men, for and with others. We have hope, we believe, and we celebrate. Why are we different?
So we can be the difference.
Though we are many, we are part of something. A force bigger than all of us. Our distinct fingerprints collectively shaping and forever changing what makes UConn, UConn. Forever making our mark. Forever making UConn a part of us.
What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the EGFC. I hope you all missed us just as much as we miss all of you. We are jumping into our second of three series here tonight. It's going to be Marquette University versus the University of Connecticut. So, Salty, you know, logistically, looking at these teams, both of them having a pretty rough opening fall split. So they're both looking to break that curse right now, both looking to put a win on the board to start off this spring split.
Yeah, UConn's 3-5, Marquette 0-7. UConn is especially the weird one because just last season they were so good, and I think they had wanted to graduate 5-5, did kind of the opposite to what it did to a lot of teams, to where I think it hurt them more than it helped them. And they've had a lot of close games that they just have not been able to finish out. So I'm curious to see if they can, you know, finish this one out tonight if given the position. And Marquette, it was a rough fall split. Like, there's no way to sugarcoat it. It was a very rough first split for them. And I'm curious to see if at least today we see some more signs of life. But again, we could have a Southern Utah situation where Southern Utah in fall split didn't look very good. And all of a sudden in spring split, they were amazing last game and got the 3-0. So you just never know.
You never know, Salty. That is the theme of the day, the theme of the season. Perhaps you never know what is coming out next. But what we do know is it looks like both these teams want to spend a little bit of time running meta or pseudo-meta at the very least. It seems like UConn is really running it down strong with Rom, Kiriko, Lucio, but Marquette, they're giving us a little bit of a weird choice here. They've got the, in quotes, meta DPS of Sojourn and Soldier, but bringing out the Sigma on Ilios. This did not work well earlier for one of our earlier teams, but perhaps Marquette can rock with it just a little better.
Yes, if they at least try and like hold certain spots, if they can get there, then I think at least a little bit works. So far, it hasn't worked too bad, but now they're going to make their way into the lighthouse.
Yeah, with no immediate Pharah picks happening right here either. It's going to be a clean 5v5 going into this combat. So University of Connecticut, they get the point pretty much for free as Marquette wants to play it low and slow. They understand the dangers of overextending. And speaking of overextending, Rich almost does just that. Luckily enough, has the power block online, gets the deal block. What is it, like 90% of incoming damage or something crazy like that? It is a very strong ability to keep Rom up and running. Oh my goodness, it's great. But here we go, Marquette. They finally get on, and it looks like Stomps is about to get stomped. UConn just constantly blocking out that Sigma.
Just denying the Sigma from getting anything done, and Nels will fall, so that opens up the door here for the Golden Eagles.
Yeah, the door has been kicked wide open. Marquette is looking for their opportunity to strike. You got one off the board. Nels swapping out of the Genji, so kissing that traditional meta goodbye and wants to bring out much more of a comfort pick. Samo will fall. His guy's gone and Stomps starts to stomp all his own. Might be able to take down Rich, and that will truly seal the deal, as Rom can definitely stall for a while if he caught that Annihilation. Wants to hold on to it for the upcoming fight. And you gotta say, Salty, even though UConn loses it, gotta be pretty impressed with how much they were able to gain in that time.
Oh, you definitely have to be impressed with how they did. Just slowly but surely poking their way in. Obviously, you don't want to always wait till you build Amp Matrix to try and push in like that, but they at least get the point now, and they force Nels to swap off to the Genji to try and put more pressure over on Zippy. We're probably getting less of that merch.
Oh, whips the pulse bomb, eats the accretion, and the Annihilation is bodied by Marquette University. Absolutely zero value. The Gravitic Flux sends his guys into the Shadow Realm, and Lamborghini not gonna be far behind. Royal Ranger is res just to go down again. Samo falls, but Royal Ranger is gonna live. A phenomenal turnaround there from Marquette University. There was a lot of risk and none of it worth the reward. And Royal Ranger, gotta take back my words, did stay standing.
Was able to stay alive with that immortality feel. I will say, Reach is actually doing pretty well right now on the Soldier. And Sam now going to shift off of the Tracer and onto the Soldier and themselves as a third player to play that Soldier in this time. Maybe seeing if they can deal with Reach.
Yeah, this is actually the first time I've seen the Golden Ramatra staff. Such an unrelated comment, but it's neat. It looks pretty good, I gotta say. Now we got the Visor online with a deflect. A heck of a lot scarier. Zippy has to bail on it and loses to the Blade. Don't bring up Nano Visor to a sword fight, clearly, especially if Nelson's the one holding the Blade. University of Connecticut has the numbers. They have yet to grab the point, so Marquette is stalling beyond belief. They're gonna get to, no, not 70, just the funny number left online. But if Marquette can recap the point, Salty, they might be able to make that next fight the last.
UConn had to use a lot that fight as well. They have nothing on them right now. Royal Ranger has built up that second Matrix to try and open this up. Now the only issue is you have to watch out for that deflect from Nels.
Nels has that deflect online once again. Royal Ranger sends out an Amp Matrix, wants to take it early, and UConn has taken a lead. They get 70%, 30 seconds away from capping first stage of Helios, and I love how close this game has gotten to be. Our first series of the day was a 3-0 shut, and honestly, you hate to see it because you love when these teams can be neck and neck, when they can keep things up close and personal. Stomps wants to take down Rich if they can, because if you remove the Ramatra, the rest of the team truly crumbles. That is the center of the arch for Connecticut's success, but success is certainly on their mind, especially as Nels finds Zippy. They can't get Rich down. They will find it with the accretion. They have to get out of the point as only 5 seconds remain. Marquette should get this first point cap, or this point cap rather. Lucio comes in, a bit of supportal combat. Nels is gone. Reach doing a phenomenal job on the Soldier. And the Flux, did that catch the Lucio? Oh my goodness, no it did not. Okay, after the Lucio got caught, I was flabbergasted, but it's gonna work out well. Reach for no help, takes down Samo, who has swapped to the Sojourn, has gotten that overclock online, and has one more chance to use it here.
And again, it's taking so long for Marquette to settle into these fights. It took them, 30 seconds to take over that point just because the fight went so long, and now UConn has almost every single ultimate in their pocket.
Yeah, it stinks because you brought up the great point. Last fight, they used everything. That fight took so long, they just got it all back. Reach for no help, takes down Tiz guys, satirical offline annihilation, null and void. Nels has the blade, has to be the hero, the last samurai standing in the combat, and Samo jumps into the railgun shot. Nels has done a lot, but I don't think he can do it all here, especially as that blade has come to an end. It's a 1v1. Nels, the last member standing. It's all about the stall, and Nels has been able to do so. Storms caught out on point alone. His guys there to help as well, and while it may have been a stall, I don't think it's going to be successful enough. UConn, they played it low, they played it slow, and Nels, the hero, at the end of the day, wraps it up with a 3K and gives UConn that first stage win.
Credit to Nels there for just living as long as he needed to, and also you see the reinforcements just charging on in. Tiz guys with a swift step just to make sure they get healed up, and the rest of the Huskies come on through. Definitely a better Marquette look than we've had, though. I will say, I will give credit when credit's due. That was a better looking Marquette than we've seen for a lot of this year. So now it's curious to see what they swap on. That was not the swap I thought we were going to see. So unless he's, you know, trolling the production a little bit, which he definitely could be.
Most likely.
Mostly likely trolling us a little bit. UConn, though, just me sticking with what worked a lot. Actually, this is what they ran initially before the swap. Sam now back over onto the Tracer, Nels back over onto the Sojourn, and they're keeping it. Okay.
Hey, I got nothing but respect. Marquette wants to get a little bit weird with it. They want to give us their best Chengdu Hunters impression. Rest in peace, Chengdu Hunters. But they want to bring out a new composition that can work very well against a team certainly not expecting it. Is there a meta that is just playing so far off meta, the opponents have no idea what to do? Now, one of my best friends in the whole world is a Torb believer, plays him all the time, and I have seen that character work wonders beyond our wildest dreams. Detroit takes down Nels early. Royal Ranger is the trade. If Squid can find the resurrection, it'll be phenomenal for Marquette, but Squid gives their own life to try and will go down for their efforts. University of Connecticut should be able to win this fight. On the bright side, you took down Rich. I think you go for a full quick 5 group, and then you storm back in before Ramatra can return to the fight.
At this point, Stomp's just gonna be all right. We'll stall a little bit, knowing that this fight at this point's going to be captured.
You just can't give your own life for it, though. You gotta be careful.
No, and he's at least able to get out, and honestly gives a lot of ult charge now to Squid and Royal Ranger, who can just heal him back up to full. And Marquette, I thought, waiting too long, can just push right back in.
The Orisa finally online. The Battle Cattle has emerged. My girl waiting to make her appearance on Ilios well. It should be able to do pretty darn well on taking that Wrecking Ball down a peg. The Javelin's going to be great. The Javelin spin disrupts a lot of momentum. And the Fortify as well makes Orisa completely immobile from those traditional enemy movement abilities. 25% on the board for the University of Connecticut. They won the last one 99-90, or I guess 100-99. But right now they are establishing a new dominant. Zippy gets blocked out of the immortality field, and it looks like, oh, Royal Ranger dances away as well. The Javelin spin. Genius play, and Rich 41 is Rich 40 done with this team. Wants to secure another victory. Marquette sneaks a point cap out from underneath them, but University of Connecticut getting comfortable to steal it right back.
Not too much for Marquette to try and call home both that time around. I think Stomps will be, you would think he's switching now at that point. They totally countering him out. You gotta think he's swapping, right? And the answer is yes. They're going back over to Sigma, which honestly against the Orisa could definitely work. It works better than I would say against the Ramatra and then the Ramatra. So definitely a decent swap here for Marquette.
Yeah, Sigma is a pretty consistent answer to Orisa. He can accretion her even if she's doing the Javelin spin. He can eat her Javelin throw with his projectile eat. I can't think of the word for it, but he's a very strong counter, especially Rabbinic Flux can pull focus away from the rest of his team and from the Orisa. Now here comes that slam, and it's going to be able to find a 2-piece out the gate. Very well done by Rich 41 as University of Connecticut wins that with, I mean, let's be honest, there's 3 ultimates, so Salty going into the next one, was that maybe 2 or 3 too many?
I think it was too many, only because now you're 1 fight away, no matter what. Because I think with stall, this will get to at least like 90-95% here for the Huskies. So even if you don't win this fight, you can draw out either one or both support ultimates from Marquette, and then the next fight should be in your pretty good standing.
Yeah, reach for no help, going for a very unique choice here. We saw Blue Falcon try it earlier and wasn't able to get a lot of value, but already reach for no help is finding 1 elimination. Cannot catch that Lucio in time. We hear the high noon. It was locked and loaded. Both Cassidy's take out a support on the respective side. Zippy finally hits that revenge kill onto Rich 41, and Marquette in the final moment, the Overwatch factor kicking in at its finest. This is the last second of combat. The team remembers how to do what needs to be done, and they cap that point in their favor. Let's see if Marquette can walk it all the way to 100.
was curious on what UConn were going to do that fight, and I think using ultimates there to try and win it may have just been the wrong call.
I agree.
I think you try and save at that point because you did what you were, I thought they were hoping to do, draw up both support ultimates. Now they only have Deadeye, and they will have Gravitic Flux here in a second, but you could have nothing in that department.
Yeah, honestly, I agree pretty quickly, but thinking about it, it's one of those things where if it worked, it was great, but because it didn't, it's like, maybe we shouldn't have used it. See you, Zippy. You love to see it when a Marisa gets an environmental kill with that amazing new javelin that I truly might just be obsessed with. His guys and Lamborghini are gone. Marquette, they need to win this fight right here, right now, because the second UConn snatches it back, the map is over. Ilios ends in favor of Connecticut. Marquette, they do not want to let that happen, at least not Mark yet.
No supports were here for UConn for a lot of that. They both died during their Gravitic Flux or shortly after, so UConn, they can't push in really. Rich is kind of stuck in no man's land. They'll eventually be able to get sped out by Lamborghini, but a lot of time gone. Also, we're one fight left and a stagger onto Sam as well to leave Marquette. One fight went away from sending us over to Ruins.
Now, at least it's one of the fastest characters to return, right? There's a very mild silver lining. Tracer can come right back into the fight, and I don't like the Widow pick here. People often go Widow for Pharah, but in reality, I think a hit scan that doesn't require a hard scope, like a Widowmaker, maybe a Soldier, like a Sojourn, could be very beneficial. It looks like Reach wants to get up close and personal, wants to take this Widow down a peg, and will get it before they are dismissed by Samo. It may be worth it at the end of the day as Squid gets the res, but gives their life for it. And as that Mercy is missing in this final fight here, Salty, you've got to wonder, was the risk worth the reward? And as Reach has already found two in this fight and looking to find a third, the answer seems to be yes. The flashbang is going to miss, but Reach for no help certainly is not. Lucio gone, and that is Marquette forcing us all the way to Ilios Ruins.
I think, yeah, res definitely worth it there. It's such a huge risk, right? Because the Tracer and the Cure are right there. But hey, it takes attention off of the point. They have to rush to get over there, and it's not very organized at that point in time. And as well, they're able to finish off the Kiriko. Zippy, I admit, goes huge in the second half of that round. Just kill after kill onto that Cassidy and seems to finally land on a hero that they're comfortable on after having a rough start over there on Lighthouse. So now entering this final round of Ruins, it honestly goes into the favor of the hit scan, seeing that's why, you know, we see Soldier, well, now Cassidy and Sojourn on the side of UConn, Ash on the side of Marquette. I'm kind of surprised. Is Zippy not sticking to the Cassidy? They'll be going over to the Tracer, maybe assuming Nels might try that Widowmaker again.
I think you're right. I think this may be an answer perhaps to Samo's Tracer or perhaps that Widowmaker. Tracer can definitely get a lot of work done if she can close the gap. Marquette falling very much off meta here. We're seeing a Diva. Ash makes a lot of sense, but Tracer, not a character we've been seeing a lot of in the grand scheme. Today, yes, these characters definitely seem to be bringing her out often. 1-for-1 support trade, Lamborghini and Squid taken down, and that Kiriko, no way she survives it. Stomp gets a trade, but I mean, in a trade, it truly is. You're not getting out of there with Nels behind the scope. Takes Stomps down and should help UConn win this first fight, especially when Royal Ranger falls. Oh, Reach just got jump scared. Didn't even know that Ramatra was right around that corner.
Nemesis form is quite strong, man, don't you think? Just
I think it's too strong, personally.
Yeah, and they take out the entire backline. A lot of swaps already in the DPS department. Reach for no help over to Sojourn. Zippy back onto that Cassidy after the Tracer not working out too well. And Nels over to the Genji, thinking that the Tracer was going to be still in play. So a little bit of counterplay, maybe not going the way of UConn, but still a lot of damage coming in.
Now the hero player, Nels on the Genji once again. Oh, the deflect! Oh, you love to see it, but Zippy will live through it. A very intelligent play from Nels. Wants to make sure they don't go down to a very easy elimination like a flashbang. Needs to play it quick and needs to play it shaky to make sure the enemies can never truly tell where this Genji is about to be. Sneak into the back line. Pass about the deflected 50 HP. Lamborghini finding a two-piece in the fray, making this a very easy fight win for the University of Connecticut, who are already halfway done with Ilios Ruins stage number 3, and this will be the one they need to put that first map win on the board. Going into this next fight, Salty, it feels like they've got it all on the table.
Oh, everything on the line, I think, for Marquette. They need to win this next fight, or we get back into a situation like Lighthouse where they don't have enough time, I think, to really try and play with. So UConn, a lot of pressure on them to win this fight.
Fight has 5 ults written on UConn's side. The beat comes out early, and it's a fascinating choice. I believe it's their answer. Cancel, excuse me, to Kitsune. The blade is going to be found from Nelson. There's no beat to catch it. A couple of the players are not in the proper LOS. and Nels has to abandon it early. Overclock coming out from Reach. There's a lot of DPS duels here, a lot of ego behind this. They want to make sure they dismiss their proper counterpart like that. Zippy finds Nels with that high noon. Ramatra might not be far behind. Rich falls to Reach. Samo with an overclock of their own finds Zippy into a Sojourn 1v1, making a 1v none. Samo will fall to Reach, and Marquette, they've stabilized, but if they lose even a single fight, Salty, this map is over.
8 ultimates went into that fight, and it is Marquette that stand on top. I think Sam could have held the overclock, but I don't blame him trying to save that round and is finishing the map there and then. Now Stomp's already 3/4 of the way to their ramp to Annihilation, but here comes Rich.
Rich is angry. He is ready to annihilate any surviving member of Marquette University. Squid has fallen, not a beat in sight, not even a speed boost to run from the annihilation that is certainly just around the corner. 2 eliminations there for University of Connecticut. 13 seconds left for Marquette to make it happen. You got close, but close. Not going to cut it. Only going to count in horseshoes and hand grenades. And only hand grenades are involved in a game like Overwatch. Samo finds Squid, so not even the final touch can happen. I believe UConn has map number 1 in the bag. The annihilation, too little, too late.
And just the awkward timing of when they lost that, how far Connecticut were able to get that point. It was the 86% mark. It's not really enough time to fully reset and push in. You kind of just have to throw somebody on there to try and touch, and that time around it was the Lucio, and it just did not work for Marquette. But I will say, this, I said it earlier, this is the best Marquette we've seen in a while.
Yes.
So I'm optimistic to see how they do entering Kings Row, entering Coliseo. It at least seems they're getting on the right track. And UConn, again, they're setting themselves up early game really well. But it seems like the middle of these rounds, they just struggle a little bit to rotate those ultimates efficiently. They're either using too little or too much.
Without a doubt, it's too little or it's too much, and they need to find that proper kind of discipline, trigger discipline, ult discipline, whatever you choose to call it. We saw a lot of it from Southern Utah earlier, where they were winning fights with 1, maybe 2, but never 3 ultimates. It was a very strong example of how far a single ult can take you in the game. And Marquette, they've brought it close. They're learning, they're adapting, but they need to be just a little bit quicker, because we know map number 2, Septilin's favorite map in the game, it's going to be Kings Row. So we saw Marquette fall off meta a little bit already. Clearly, they're not afraid to shake things up if they have to, but UConn, they seem to really like what they're working with, and it seems to be working well.
They are heavily focusing down on the Ramatra play and the Sojourn play, which why not? They're 2 of the best heroes in the game right now. There's a reason why a lot of teams are, and I think UConn did a really great job, especially in some of those early fights, to focus a lot of their resources there and try and just make sure the DPS of Marquette couldn't do very much. Granted, Reddy was doing very well at times, I think, especially when the Marcy pocket was there. They were hitting a lot of their alt fires on the Sojourn. I just think they need to keep going on that. Go all in on that. Add the Mercy pocket. You may not have the speed that you probably want, but if you're running the Sigma, it really doesn't matter if that Lucio is in play.
Lucio being in play is critical. We'll jump back to one of the first points I made on the broadcast tonight. You don't see a character with a 100% pick rate in Overwatch League finals and playoffs because they're bad. Right? Exactly. It's clearly because that is a pivotal character to the pace of play in this game. Was the meta at that time different? Absolutely. We've seen a lot of changes in Overwatch from then to now, but the fact remains the same. Look at Overwatch at any of the highest tiers. My man Lucio is going nowhere. They would have to drastically change this character. How to remove Lucio from being meta? They'd have to remove Lucio's speed boost. That's a huge part of the reason he is so successful, because he helps the team get in, he helps the team get out, he helps the slower characters have an insane increase in speed, and he's got an AoE heal on top of that. He's a very, very strong character, one that I suspect we'll be seeing a lot of, probably until Overwatch 3, if I'm being honest. I mean, he is so unbelievably talented. UConn, I want to call out early, your boy Wings in on the tank, an axe hand for Marquette on the DPS. Oh, Stomps, wait, I'm sorry. There's more.
Axe hand subs in, Stomps and Reach for No Help swap roles. This is, okay, so we have a Villanova approach here for Marquette. As a little bit of, everybody's switching around a little bit, but maybe it's because they want to run the Zarya, maybe? And honestly, I admit, Reach for No Help's tracking was actually pretty good. So maybe it's like, you know, back in Goats meta where they shove DPS onto the Zarya. Maybe that's what they're trying to gun for here. And you love to see your boy Wings back in action. The legend himself. locking in back in on the Ryan.
In-house Ryan extraordinaire. Your boy Wings wants to make some space early for Marquette, and it looks like they're going to do so pretty darn effectively. UConn just holding S entirely, going for that slow rotation we saw from Southern Utah, but forgetting they got to go into hotel to make that work. They're holding back towards their own spawn, and Wings is taking a myriad of reasons of this damage. Axehand finds Nels in the chaos, but gives their own life for a Lamborghini, one of the most supportable combat players I have ever seen. Just loves to get up close and personal on that Lucio. Tiz guy sneaks into the back line and might even get a pick before they notice he's up there. Nope, they found him, and I don't think there's many places for a Baptiste to run.
No, you can maybe jump over to the other side, but he has a Hanzo calling out his name. You know, it's Nelson.
Oh no!
It's Lucio's gone, and you got a lot of deaths up there, my friend. I do
Tiz.
not think you're getting out of that.
I don't think you immo that. I don't think you left shift that. You try to get a pick, and if you go down, that's great because it's going to reset you with your team a heck of a lot faster than it just did. I want to call the light. They got 86%. I mean, they were very close to full capping that. If they just do that same thing again, that's a free cap. Marquette cannot hold S this time. They have to take every fight at face value, and with only Azaria in the front, this Earth Shatter should be free from your boy Wings.
Unless they somehow die during the animation.
There it is.
Well, they used it. They maybe didn't even need it. As
Did
the
not
window
need
was
it.
so big.
Yeah, did not need that.
Yeah, but hey, if you're UConn, you win the point. Honestly, you still only use 2 ults, so it's not like
Yeah, that's
you
true.
use too many, and you get so much real estate now. You can push batch archway and go almost to near and last spawn because every single golden eagle got far.
Yeah, I mean, we got to look at this as well. They're going to have both DPS ults. They're going to have a beat around the corner. So, while it may have been not necessary, I don't think it's a throw either. I don't think it's an overextension by any means. It was one of 2 ultimates. It's not like it was 4 or 5 used in a single fight. With this Blizzard Dragons combination, there's a lot of ways this could go. They could use Dragons to separate the team. They could wall them in and Blizzard to boot. But Dragons, the other team's grab is crazy. A very intelligent play, and I like what we're seeing from it. Reach for no help, and your boy Wings are both going to fall. So as these tanks dissipate on either side, it's up to the remaining 4 members to make the space they need for success, just like that. Nelson misses one from the fight. Here comes a Riptire. Let's see if Axehand can do something with it. Now there's no Hanzos. We're down to 3v3, but as your boy Wings gets back a heck of a lot faster, the Reach for no help is going to be able to UConn to take this advantage as far as they possibly can and run with it. Okay, Wings. Wings. Wings, it was a metaphor. It was a metaphor. Oh my goodness, the left shift all the way into spawn, but somehow he is going to stay alive. I cannot believe it.
It's like, Wiggs, you do remember that you can cancel that, right?
That's what I was
You do
thinking.
remember that. Honestly, it's worth you. Get rid of Squid, and now they will be not here for the beginning of this last stall.
It's worth, but it's so risky, Salty. We've all been there. You know, we've all had that Ryan who left shifts way too long. No way, he sends it again, and it's just gonna work. Oh my goodness, I'm having a field day. I'm living vicariously through your boy Wings. I wish that's the way I could left shift into combat, just like that. That's what's up, and I think Wings is getting set up possibly for an early Earth Shatter. If he can just 1v1 Reach for no help into the Shadow Realm, that's a free win for UConn.
Yeah, I'm honestly, at this point, if he even pins off the edge for like a sacrifice,
I'll lose my mind if your boy Wings pins off the map.
Would do, as they already around.
No, even better.
Marquette makes swaps everywhere.
I wanted to cancel the pin. I wanted to cancel the pin and still get the elim. That's what I want to see. Oh, I mean, all right. That felt a little ego-y, but clearly it's going to work. Your boy Wings living up to the expectation as one of our favorite Reinhardts here in the EGFC. I can't believe it. Playing Rein not in a Ditto and doing it well. I'm having the best day of my life over here. There's a very real chance that UConn can cap with just underneath 4 minutes on the clock, and Wings trying to make that a reality gets walled out by his own May. The Dragons to boot. It's going to rip the team apart, and with 3:58 on the clock, they are seconds away. Salty, that is 3 seconds shy of an entire time bank. That's basically the time they started with.
Okay, this is the UConn we thought we were going to see tonight. Especially when you get your boy Wings in, you play the May that Sam's so great at to help assist your boy Wings. Nelson's able to do his thing as well. This is the Husky squad that we're so used to seeing. What we saw last year, what we kind of expected to see this year a lot of the time, and haven't really seen as much a lot because Ryan has not been in a great spot. But again, Kings Row is a Reinhardt map. It still is. People will argue about it, but it's a Reinhardt map. Like, the geography of it is for the pins to play those corners, and so far UConn playing extremely well. And I think the role swap for Marquette maybe not paying out like it would have wanted. I think Axehand's actually played all right so far.
I
They
agree.
get a few picks on the Junkrat, and they did all right, but I think the role swap maybe not what Marquette were really wanting.
I think it's forced us into a really unique situation because you can swap roles between maps, not between halves. So now they're finding out that Reach for No Help hasn't been as successful on the Zarya. Now they have to mirror the Reinhardt, and that's a really frightening moment. They can go with an Orisa, they can go with a Sigma, they can go with a Ramantra, and a lot of that is going to take Rein down early. I've been the Rein, it hurts every time, but if we're helping teams right now, you just play anything that is not Zarya, and you should be able to dominate this Rein pretty quickly. Orisa's my preferred choice, but with Ramantra easily making his way to the S tier of this game, I think it makes a lot of sense that Marquette wants to go with it. You go with the top tiers because they're technically, statistically easiest to find wins with, so maybe Reach for No Help can make a lot of space early.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think Stomps on the Bastion is a wild card pick that the Huskies have to adapt to because your boy Wing's shield is going to be basically non-existent.
Yeah, the shield is going to be non-existent, but I think that's not going to hurt Wings' playstyle. Wings is the, if I don't have a shield, I'm going through yours type of player. And I think that's exactly what Wings wants. They're almost playing into the clutches of this absolutely insane Reinhardt, because Wings just plays with his heart, not his brain. In the best way, he goes out there and plays Rein the way he wants to, and it works well for UConn when he gets enabled the way he is right now. 61% on the board. The left shift not going to land, but the elimination certainly will. Axe Hand and Reach for No Help down. Stomps missing as well, and UConn dominating fight number 1 of the second half of King's Run.
Marquette at least able to get it picked, you know, already 3/4 of the way to annihilation. It seems to be the common trend, I would say, for a lot of teams right now is that one fight in about roughly a minute or so, almost get that annihilation. But UConn now in a great spot because they have their own May walls. I don't think Marquette were, well, I'm assuming they thought the walls were going to continue coming up. It seems it's playing extremely well, but it's another aspect of their game that they have to try and play around.
Ooh, speaking of aspects, let's see how the pace changes now that his guys has gone down. Reach for No Help lands the headshot. Axe Hand traded out. Lamborghini's gone. It is just a bloodbath between. Nels puts down another. The annihilation from Marquette is a little desperate, if we're being honest, but desperation is the name of the game right now. Wings is missing. Nels stuck in the corner. It's fascinating. I actually don't know. Can Genji deflect the annihilation punches?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either. Okay, but it looked a little weird there. Is it?
It's like some Metro Beam and Zarya beam.
Okay, sick. I thought so. Okay, there was a weird animation there. I truly got lost. But that again, she gets stuck in the corner. Nels loses it. 4.5 minutes. A pretty strong moment there from Marquette, especially after the dominance of the first fight. Going into this fight, Salty, what ultimates are we looking at?
I think, well, already going to call it in the airstrike, and they actually get a great zoning ult, too.
Very intelligent and forced not only immortality, but beat as well, so the next damage dealing ult can really make waves. Stomp's taken down by Nels, but the Blizzard cancels this blade entirely, essentially. It's a 1-1 trade. Axe Hand is gone. Nels wants to make some action happen and Reach for No Help finally wins that tank duel against Wings. Samo not far behind, and Marquette, they get the wheels moving and the moving, but Nels just desperate to farm as much of that blade as possible.
It's a 2-for-2 trade, but the big pick there is Axe Hand freezing Tiz guys at the very edge of that Blizzard and able to finish them off, leaving UConn with no healers whatsoever. At least Marquette, they lost 2, but it was their tank and their DPS. Still the heals all going around. And now they can continue pushing on through here, and they also have Kitsune Rush available. If they can just track when Lamborghini uses that amp, they can just speed right on in.
Phenomenal point. You wait for the amp and you body the opponents that no longer have it. Marquette, 2 ultimates in their pocket, nearly a third, and UConn the Blizzard, they've been sitting on it for a while, Salty. They've had it since a little later than the first minute of the game, and I'd like to see it come out here on King's Row 1.5, just like that. Now it's going to be 2 garage doors, open up one right after the other. Wings is obliterated.
Eventually.
Bye. Reach for No Help finally goes down. Lived way longer than I thought they were going to, but they go down. Samo and Nels pick up 2 eliminations of their own, and off the back of that Blizzard and the Ant Matrix, not so much, but it definitely helped make the space for the Blizzard. UConn has stalled it out.
And the immortality field also from Tiz guys kept your boy Wings alive, as you
for
said,
way too
longer than he deserved to. Like, he should have been dead to rights seconds before that. So, honestly, for UConn, that was probably the biggest win condition there. And now Stomps over to the Soldier, trying to, and not going to run the Bastion anymore, trying to deal with Nels more one-on-one.
I think I'd like to see a Hanzo maybe, a Junkrat even. Junkrat can really get a lot of value here on King's Row 1.5 because it's all walls, it's all boxed in, and that's truly where he thrives. The hammer comes down, I assume right about now. I was wrong, but I feel like it's going to be in this fight somewhere. Your boy Wings is going to drop the hammer, finds a 2-piece, Immortality Field still standing, misses the charge, has to end it quick, and is getting obliterated by Stomps, who somehow got the high ground completely for free, and nobody turns around in time. Stomps find the advantage, and University of Connecticut's tank falling, maybe the first domino of them losing this second point.
Nels dies really early in that fight, so they don't have anybody to control high ground. So
the call out must have just not been there.
Stomps doesn't, has nobody to challenge him up there. Already has the tack visor ready to go.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, the Golden Eagles looking more and more like they could send this to OT.
Yeah, looking more, at the very least, they can bring us to in overtime here on King's Row. But I've seen teams get stalled here for 6+ minutes. They've got 3 to work with, which, to be fair, is plenty if they can keep the cart moving. It's once you lose momentum that this really becomes a difficult retake. So you want to find the advantage that you already have. You want to push with it, and you want to make sure you extend appropriately, because if you overextend, you lose it. You don't extend enough, you lose it. You got to play that clean middle ground. And because 4 ultimates are going to be coming out all at once, 5 ultimates are going to be coming out all at once, you'd think this would be a pretty back and forth fight, but instead it's Nels dropping a 3-piece through an amp matrix to make sure that Marquette is completely stalled in their tracks. Squid desperate to survive, and it looks like Nels is going to have to let the ego duel come to a close. If they overextend, it could cost them their life and possibly some more cart progress.
And they know the time is in their advantage right now anyway. They already will have at least a 2-minute advantage.
At least over double.
Yeah, so they're sitting pretty right now. They don't need to overcommit, and they have this blizzard that they can use around this corner whenever Marquette decides to push on it.
Here comes an annihilation. I think the blizzard is a great counter to it, but Wings is gone before Reach for No Help can get frozen up. It's a double blizzard, a May diagram, a Venn diagram happening live on stream, and Samo goes down. Nelson's gone, his guys falls, and Marquette, I don't know how, if I'm being honest, but somehow they come out on top of that very confusing fight.
It was just because they threw the blizzard a half second before.
And it makes all the difference.
Everybody from UConn who tried to take advantage of Sam's blizzard were frozen up and killed by Marquette.
Kitsune rush from Squid, trying to give Marquette the speed advantage and the cooldown advantage that they need to win this final fight. Your boy Wings, if they fall, this should be a clean fight win for Marquette University, and Wings is absolutely the first dismissed. Can anybody find the recontest? Lucio dives in quick, looks for the environmental kill, and just can't pick it up in time. Immortality so keeping the team alive as the Maywall boxes them in just a bit, boxes Marquette clean out of it, and University of Connecticut will complete with 84 seconds left on the clock. So very similar to Helios, we are going the extra mile here. We are going all the way to the end in University of Connecticut with nearly 4 times the time bank that Marquette can bring to the table right now.
All Marquette needs, though, is one good momentum swing.
No doubt.
To go their way in this OT, but they need to start hot. They can't be like their initial attack where it took them a few fights to get into it and figure out what swaps they need to make, and then they captured that point. They do not have that luxury now of that much extra time, so we'll have to wait and see what they decide to run with early on, and it will be basically what they ended up with. The Ramatra may as well, and University of Connecticut now giving up on the Rhine play. They will stick to that Ramatra that they entered in during the OT segment. And Sam now also going back over to the Tracer to maybe try and put some pressure on Royal Ranger and Squid, who honestly barely got looked at during a lot of that attack.
Yes. There was one moment we saw Squid on the precipice of death there, on the edge of extinction, and instead found themselves getting saved by that Ramatra shield. So it was going to be a close one, but other than that, I really don't remember a time where I was like, uh-oh, Squid's in a bad position. Uh-oh, somebody's looking at Squid. It felt like they got away with a lot of what they wanted to do there. Now, is it Marquette has to attack first because they have a smaller time bank? The Widow, it makes a lot of sense. I always call it the King's Row Widow. You try it once, if it doesn't work, you swap off and call it a day. It really doesn't burn any time as the rest of your team is still making the necessary space. Stomps, though, not rocking with the King's Row Widow, giving us a full-blown Widow. Let's see if they're able to find an elimination to make it all worth it. An incredible risk. Got to make it worth the reward.
If anything, it just forces UConn to play backside hotel more than trying to play here off by statue, which, for at least a little bit, gives Marquette some space.
Oh my goodness, that was danger close. Nell's able to find Royal Ranger early. That should stall Marquette in their tracks unless they can find a counter elimination immediately after. Okay, never mind. It's actually 3 in favor of University of Connecticut. Less than a minute on the clock, and Nels does go down. That could be critical to the performance of UConn in this upcoming fight because Marquette has the spawn advantage ×5 on this. So they're going to come back as a full 5 well before UConn can recontest. It looks like they have fully bailed on the point to try and go get Nels.
At that point, if you give up a take, it's not the biggest deal in the world. Even the Marquette not even going to point right away. They're trying to rotate through Motel, not even realizing all of UConn are there yet.
They want to win it high and dry. They want to take down all 5 members to make sure they can truly win the fight, but instead, they're going to lose at least one of their own. Axe Hand is gone. The Maywall offline in the Blizzard, nowhere in sight, barely halfway. It's the annihilation from Wings that feels like it's going to rip this fight just completely apart. 1, 2, let's make it 3 down before Wings will bite that final bullet. And Nels gets the railgun onto Reach with only 5 seconds remaining. You got to clock the Lucio and the Genji, and if they don't touch, you've got this half in the bag. Genji dashes in and dashes out just as fast as he is removed from this mortal coil. May tries to touch. She cryo freezes on the point, stalling every possible moment, but it feels truly like a delay of the inevitable.
Oh.
Can Axe Hand farm this Blizzard? If they can, Marquette can rip this fight wide open.
They've already got 2 picks as well. Lamborghini will not be in this for a while. They at least get a tick. Some of you kind of trying to rotate through Hotel. But honestly, Axe Hand has opened this up for Golden Eagles.
Trying to cryo freeze until the 100% is reached, and finally will be the annihilation to boot. It's a bloodbath, a 3-piece from Reach for no help with the help of Axe Hand there. Oh my goodness, Salty, you nailed it, man. You said they needed 1 swap of momentum, and it'll break the curse, and that has certainly been done. University of Connecticut crumble at a critical moment on Kings Row.
And Marquette didn't even have to use that much. Both support ultimates in the bank. Stomp's already up to that that blade if they want, so they can Kitsune blade going into this fight with no fear of a sound barrier on the opposing end, because Lamborghini has just not been able to build it up to this point. UConn, they already have given up, let's say, about 50 meters, and the damage could just keep on coming.
I mean, every fight could be the final fight, right? A blade from Stomps is almost immediately canceled down to 14 HP at a point. Wings is gone. Axe Hand keeping the dream alive, and Reach for no help dominates again with a 4-piece. Absolutely terrifying. Those punches are the scariest thing in the game to me right now.
And especially in the Kitsune Rush, and they do the Kitsune Rush and Blade combo perfectly. Stomps, even though they're at solo health, they get healed up immediately, because you can heal quicker if you're Squid and Royal Ranger, and those swings just are so fast. You kind of have to use their Kitsune Rush as well, so they'll eventually be able to build up this annihilation, but at what cost?
Oh, it's good cost. I mean, both the first points of the map, both point 1 and 2. Your boy Wings going out instead of getting in with this ultimate here. The Annihilation online has to get Suzu. They give up the 2nd point for free. And Marquette working wonders. Wings, for the 3rd fight in a row, is the first person to go down, and the team needs a tank. There's only 1 tank in the world of Overwatch 2, and Wings has really been struggling since the Ramatra swap has come to fruition. Marquette, they had a little more than a minute, and they've made it all the way back to point number 3.
As you said, 1 little momentum swing and everything changes. Reach for no help has the annihilation as well. It's just going to be a lot of annihilation.
The wall, the May wall just wrecks Nels's ultimate here, but he still gets the pull. It's all about the patience on the trigger, and he finds it to go down, and Marquette will finally blink from existence for just a moment. 39.65 meters on the 3rd point, Salty. We were 1 May cryo freeze away from a full hold in overtime, but instead they lost that 1 fight, and it made all the difference.
It makes a huge difference because Axe Hand A gets the pick as their entering point. Then they are able to wall themselves off, stall for a second, then they cryo. And it was just a beautiful stall from Axe Hand to get everybody else into the picture. And then UConn just didn't have the resources for a long time to try and re-engage fully, leaving it to Marquette. They actually have a really great overtime push. So now instead of UConn, before Marquette's push, well, okay, UConn definitely has the advantage going into this.
Right.
They still need to push, 2.5 phases of the map here in 3.5 minutes. That is not the easiest thing to do.
Not at all. Now, they have done it once already, but this feels like a very different game. You know what I mean? Like, we're seeing the Ramatra now. Stomps is going back to the Bastion. Gonna be honest, Stomps, I'm not a huge fan. It feels like you're succeeding on everything but the Bastion. So maybe we stop trying to lock it in. It's not working quite like we want it to. And as UConn comes out with this Reinhardt again, it makes all the sense in the world. They dominated this first point on their attack, and they're looking to do it again, Salty. Like you said, you've got the full time bank, but there's no more reset per point. You've got a maximum of 4 minutes here.
And you wonder if the Ryan is no longer the pick. Because of how well Reach for No Help is playing on this Ramatra, you wonder, A, why didn't they
There's
start
no Zarya
on
this time.
And yeah, they're playing just so well, and Stomps on the Bastion, which again on the defensive side is better than when they tried to do it on offense.
We've got to play it a lot slower this time. I feel like your boy Wings was already leading the charge to be halfway done with the point on their initial attack. Both Immortality Fields have to come out as the May Walls are going to give us a little bit of tiny Overwatch on King's Row first. Immortality Field finally coming to a close. Cryo Freeze from Samo, but Reach for No Help will go down. Nell sneaks in on the Reaper, a choice we have not seen at all today, and Axan learns it the hard way as well. The Reaper shall toll the dead once again. Marquette University gonna have to backpedal, try to keep alive as many as they can getting out of here. But it looks like that number very well maybe 0.
They should be at least be able to get Reach for No Help and Squid out. Seems like Stomps will be able to eventually get out.
Reach for No Help's not out, they're back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're at least back, and I think at this point they'll at least be somewhat out. This cart will not be held at choke. And Marquette just trying to get back together is without your BAP, you are not wanting to push on into this. And again, momentum swing back over to UConn. That Shatter, unless Reach for No Help can time that shield perfectly, is free for the taking.
I'd love to see another successful Earth Shatter from your boy Wings. We saw a great one and a not so great one, but I'd love to see it kind of tip the scale either way. We hear that artillery strike preparing to strike, and oh, right into the bar. I like what we're seeing. Timing the third, waiting out all of the cooldowns, and still not able to find much off of it. A shield hop into the corner here. Walk through the shield and slam. You know it's free. You know it's guaranteed. No! Wings! 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 Oh! Oh, man, it hurts. It hurts. It was a panic ult. I'm sure of it. But if you're going to panic ult, you got to hit it.
That is a rough ult to miss, because that allows the annihilation to continue from Reach for No
body.
Help. That's a rough miss from your boy Wings. And wow, that was just not expecting him to miss. He just swings and he goes right in between Reach for No Help and Axan. Hits neither of them, and all of a sudden swings back into the favor of Marquette.
Here comes another Blizzard of the Wall. Is very intelligent and tries to keep the team alive. The Venn diagram comes to fruition for the second time here on King's Row. Immortality Field working wonders, y'all. You gotta shoot at it or the team will never go down. Marquette winning another fight out in completion. Wings, the last member standing. As that fight comes to a close, at least they've got a Death Blossom to work with, and if they're fast enough, Royal Ranger does not make it back in time.
I will say, again, Axe Hand gets the better Blizzard. And
yes,
this is something
yes.
We're so used to Sam playing so well on the May. A lot of the time it's for their walls, maybe not as much their ultimates. And I think that weakness has really been exposed this match.
The Blizzard's making a world of difference. Being a little predictable here is Nels just racing into the back line, trying to find a Death Blossom, and I don't think it's necessary. I get it, though. The panic is setting in. You know, you had 4 something on the clock, and you're down to less than a minute. You're not even... I guess you're actually about halfway right now to where you need to be to win this map out over Marquette. And if Marquette ties this guarantees map number 4, which I believe is Circuit Royale, which we have not seen once today. Wings, you've got the Shatter. All eyes on you. I am expecting this Shatter to be the fight-winning ultimate UConn needs.
And especially because Cart reaches the end of second phase, Marquette will just position themselves here over on corner, not wanting to push on in. They have their artillery strike, and here it comes in from Stomp to deny a little bit of time, and honestly just wait for the cooldowns for your team to reset.
The Annihilation online. Wings, you gotta drop the hammer! That's what we wanted to see! A 2-piece, but Wings does get obliterated by an artillery form. Stomps through that amplification bridge. The garage door opened wide and stomps the vehicle waiting inside. Axan takes down Samo, and University of Connecticut are going to lose map number 2, King's Row. That takes us all the way to map number 4 at the very least. But before that, Salty, we've got to get through map number 3. Coliseo, which is also a map in this game. It is one of the maps of all time.
It is one of the maps of all time. Marquette, show up. This is what we thought Villanova was trying to do last series.
Yep.
Go a little off meta, see if it works. This time it worked wonders for Marquette. And I will say, I don't know if you realize it or not, there was a small blunder with that Shatter there at the very end.
There was a wall, right?
Sam blocked half of it. Their own May blocked it.
Oh!
Their own, and if it would have hit, it would have hit both supports who were healing their tank through amp. So,
I processed the May wall, did not process it was his own May wall.
Yeah, so
that sucks.
It's weird saying that Sam had a bad May round, but he did not have a great May map.
Yeah,
and I think the weakness got exposed at the right time, and Marquette, hey, credit to them. Map 1 was not a fluke. We can say that definitively now. Map 1 was definitely not a fluke. They're settling in, and even the role swap. We said at the beginning of their, right after their defense,
it just
did
took a
not
while.
go very well. And it just not Zarya.
Yep.
Like, just don't play Zarya. Play the
Just don't play
Ramonda,
Zarya.
play the meta hero who's super aggressive like a DPS. And all of a sudden, we got a series, my friend.
We absolutely do, Salty. Now, I am going to go ahead and make the executive choice. Unless it's too late, we'll hear from production. We are going to throw it to a break just because map 4 is coming. We know that is a fact. So if we can throw it to a break here and give the players a couple of minutes, just use the restroom, kind of warm up, discuss what they want to do moving forward, I think that'll be great. So if you guys want to meet us right back here for the second half of this series, we've got a full third series coming in after this one. We'll see you right back here in just a couple of minutes. Going on, everybody, and welcome back. I promised to be a quick break, and it certainly was. I can only hope it'll be a quick map as well, as we are jumping into Coliseo, the push mode of Overwatch 2. And Salty, I know we've got a little time to discuss comps as the doors don't open right away, but I guess we're running in late. Actually, the doors are opening right away. Marquette's team comp. I mean, what are you thinking?
Weird.
Right.
This is giving Ilios vibes when they tried to run it over on Well, and it did not go well for Marquette. So I'm curious because they do swap Reach for No Help and Stomp's back rolls.
Zippy is
and
back
Zippy
as well.
is now swapped back in as well for Axe Hands. We're back to the full map 1 lineup.
Yeah, and I'm going to say it. I mean, you lost map 1, right? You won map 2. Something's working. You know what I mean? Like, something worked there for you to be able to win that. Yes, it was close, but a win is a win. As a wise man once said, we absolutely take those. Like, you've tied the series up 1-1, and now Marquette, they go back to the initial team comp that lost them Ilios relatively dominantly, at least on that the final stage was very one-sided. Stomps goes through quick, though. Makes me eat my words on stream, and Samo will fall early. There comes that Phantom form as your boy Wings is going to be looking for the punches. Wrecking Ball, your worst possible target, though, as he has an absolutely absurd amount of HP in that roster.
He has a metric ton of health on that hero, especially with the revamp in Overwatch 2, and it's going to take a lot to kill him as Marquette slowly making their way through it. The Widow pick, I will say, from Nels, not getting any picks so far.
No picks so far, but it got to play a really strong bait there for Reach for No Help, who overextended, and the rest of the team got to collapse. Nelson will find Squid, a bit of a body shot, bandit moment, but a kill is a kill regardless. Wings falls, I think a little too late, you know what I mean? Like, Wings has, you know, you've gone down, but your team has already definitely established a dominance here.
Marquette, though, if they can try and push in quickly here, could try and catch UConn off guard, because unless Lamborghini goes back to speed your boy Wings in, which I don't believe they are, at least at the moment.
Here we go.
They should at least have a small advantage. If that's going to get the advantage, and then just back up.
Yeah, Nels has the sights online, so no more secrets for Marquette University, but it's no secret where Stomps is in your front line waiting to drop that minefield. Lamborghini 10% off that beat, and Squid going to be 10 seconds away from respawning in the spawn room. There's the minefield. No beat online, but the Suzu does allow Lamborghini to escape. Has to focus a lot of time here just trying to clear out those mines and keep the team up and running. While this is happening, though, it's a very simple minefield, but an incredibly effective one, as it has removed those two players from this upcoming fight, at least for the next 6 or 7 seconds.
But the problem is, it's taking this long for Stomps to get back over here, and he's only at 150 health. So he takes a while to go. And Nelson finds Squid.
Third time in a row that Squid has gone down at the hands of Nelson. This Mercy, second fight in a row. They're the first one to fall. Overclock from Reach is gotten nothing so far and will continue to get nothing as Tiz guys will take them down. A DPS trade does come to fruition and Zippy finds one. Zippy takes, wow, Tiz guys supportal combat at its finest, dismisses both of the opposing DPS from the other team. Your boy Wings onto the Royal Ranger. I love the melee Ramatra has in that form. It's just a neat little addition to the comp. Stomps now brings out the Orisa. This is what I wanted to see. It works so stinking well. You just got to run it down.
Exactly, and Zippy also swaps over to the Cassidy to try and help a little more, and they played extremely well on that hero first map. At least some fights going on right. And reaching out, I'll be able to get one. Your boy Wings with the Annihilation, able to find one, should find the second in the back line as well.
My goodness, sorry, I immediately started choking on my water. Your boy Wings with the Annihilation does find two of their own, but it's answered out by 3 from Marquette University. The Annihilation is huge, right? But there's no appropriate follow-up, so Wings does enough, but nobody's there to kind of make sure it was worth it. You've given the Annihilation out. You've lost it. You've got a 60-something meter advantage, so they can now play a slower game if they want to. It's a mistake a lot of teams make is this map is not about winning in completing the map. It's about winning and just having a higher number than your opponent at the end of it. If they wanted to go for a full bunker down defense right now, I would not blame them the slightest. Is it unconventional? Is it weird? Absolutely. Is it effective? Without a doubt.
And I will say, Reach for no help, ever since swapping onto the Ash, has killed Nels 4 times. Nels has not had a fun time since that swap, and I'm assuming Nels will be swapping very soon after the Infrasight comes through this next fight.
There's not even a Mercy pocket.
Bob ready, yeah, gets not even the Mercy pocket, and they're still able to line up the shots. Sam is getting dealt with by Zippy and Squid in the back line, so UConn needing to maybe adapt a little bit. I have a feeling Nels will be swapping soon, but for now, Marquette's sitting decent.
Yeah, perhaps one of the top visor before the swap, and does get a little bit of a vengeance kill onto Zippy, but I don't think that's an impactful enough elimination to truly win the fight. We're gonna need 1 or 2 more like that to reach for no help, falling, no DPS online for Marquette, and it might be better to just try to get your survivors out of here. Either that or die on the card, stall for as much time as you can, but considering you're at a numbers disadvantage, you don't want to be stalling. You want to go for a full reset, and Nels clearly upset by those 4 elims in a row from Reach for no help. If they find a 3-piece to win UConn that fight, 76 meters to 40. Marquette's going to find themselves in a tough spot as the bot returns all the way to their side. It's going to take, 30, 40 seconds, maybe 3 or 5 fights to get to where UConn's already gotten their bot.
It will take a lot of time and a lot of resources, but you still don't even need to win this, because if you lose this fight, you are not in a great position whatsoever.
Oh no. UConn, oh my goodness, they are waking up. Nobody's looking at Samo, who's just having a field day on the bridge. There goes Zippy. I know darn well that Reach for no help should not be far behind, but finally, the Hiriko shows up too little too late. I didn't even know there was a Kitsune happening, because it didn't even need to happen. Samo was just dominating the back line. Might be able to find Squid as well, but as Zippy returns to the fight and Reach had never gone down, you gotta get out of that 3v1. Might be a little easier if Nels can take down just a single member of the team, and Reach for no help will be that member. Almost one more, but the dodge there, Kiriko has a very small head hitbox.
And at least for right now, if you're UConn, yeah, you're sitting pretty now. You got just under 4 minutes. You have a 70-meter lead.
Yeah.
And it's to the point where Marquette has yet to get a take on their side of the map. This is starting to roll out of their control.
Yeah, Reach for no help. It's locking in the Widow duel. Zippy is going to lock High Noon. We see the Suzu come out, trying to keep them up and running, and Zippy's patience is unfortunately not going to pay off. It looks like it will work well as Stomps did fall in the back line. So your boy Wings pulling this focus is actually an advantage for UConn. I think you said it best, Salty. There's not much left to be said. This spiraled out of control for the University of Connecticut. I asked for it to be a quick map, and it looks like it certainly might be. No Annihilations online. It's just going to be that punch form off there, and nobody will touch in time. Marquette University, they're tearing it up. I mean, that was, they got torn up, excuse me, as University of Connecticut just answered back. We saw map 2, you talked a lot about how they had deconstructed their opponents, Marquette had, but UConn, they took that very little break and they ran with it.
Yeah, they just never seem to slow down. this map. Your boy Wings was always pressing W, able to get a few pickoffs. You see it there. I admit, genius play on the Annihilation when the Deadeye was popped as well from Zippy. Just one little punch, blocks, so it just continues all the way through. So your Deadeye is basically getting defense matrix by me. So it was a great play there, but just Marquette never got their footing in that map. And when we thought they were, Nels pops 3 and just swings it right back into the Huskies' favor. I think for Marquette, you do the role swap again, but you keep Zippy in because Zippy's playing well. I know Axan did as well, but Circuit Royale is not going to go to their hero pool very well.
Yeah.
So I think you do the role swap unless you know that your Sigma is very good on the current lineup.
Without a doubt. And as something that we're going to be seeing, Circuit Royale is our upcoming map, like you just mentioned, and it is going to be, like you said, a Sigma game. But more so than that, I think this is a sniper map. This is the newest sniper map in the game, one that we see the Widowmakers perform above and beyond any expectation. And I think Nels is getting warmed up. I think Caliseo was a great opportunity for Nels to stay in line, to find the eliminations necessary, and hopefully find a victory for the team. But we saw the Widow duel right at the very end. The final 25 seconds of the map, we saw a Widow on both sides, Reach for No Help and Nels respectively. It could come down to the performance of those two on which one of these teams wins. This could be the Widows deadlifting their teams to success, but if both of them underperform, then we fall into a whole new flowchart. So I think Widowmaker is a very risky pick, but if your Widow pops off, as Widowmaker always is, you know, she's a risk unless you do well. If you can do well, you can paint an avenue to greatness for your team, but if you crumble, you might pass a victory over to your opponents.
Yeah, it's like the Widow is either such a throw or such a win condition. And, you know, if you're playing with me, it's a throw pick, so I apologize, but Marquette, you got to think they may not run the Widow. And I think if they at least run the Ash,
I think it's better they don't.
Pocket, it's a decent, it's a good enough substitute just because what we've seen, and that's if I say they don't do the role swap. We'll have to wait and see if they did end up doing it or not. But if they don't, why not keep Reach on the Ash? They played extremely well for a lot of that map. Maybe Zippy tries to change something up a little bit because the Cassidy, maybe in third phase, but in the first and second phases is not as impactful just because of how long the sight ranges are. Like, it is ridiculous. I'm curious to see what they decide to go, but I will say UConn looking great, Marquette looking better than what we've expected of them so far. So at least a decent start no matter what, I would say, for each side. But obviously, UConn want to slowly start making their way back to that 500 mark. And Marquette, they just want to win on the board, man. They have not been able to get that quite yet. So the fact they're a little close. They're not quite there yet, but they're getting closer.
The growth is there, at least.
The growth is definitely there.
Even if it's not a win today, and unfortunately it might not be, depending on how Circuit Royale crumbles, there's a very real growth in Marquette that we are clearly seeing. Like, Ilios all the way to Stage 3, Kings Row all the way to extra round, separated by an overtime final cap. Like, it has been insanely neck and neck. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Caliseo, not close at all.
Not so
much. A little bit of a fumble, but it's push. It's the newest game type in the game, right? It's the newest game mode in the game. It's one that I don't like. Every time I lose push, I just say push moment. Like, it's just hit for me that, like, you either roll or you get rolled, and that is the existence of push. Okay. We expected a lot of swaps, so
yes,
that was not on my bingo card.
No. They take... Okay, so Zippy is now on the Sig. Axehand subs back in. Reach for No helps. Okay, this is...
Also, Rich and Goldfish back in for UConn as well.
Oh, yeah, Goldfish in, I think, for the first time today. Rich back in for Wings, which I can see that Wings is not an off-tank player. So I can see, in the best way possible, not an off-tank player. So I think Rich coming back in is definitely the move for UConn. Granted, I was pessimistic about it on Kings Row, and it worked out pretty well.
Sure.
So maybe it works out here as well. I'm just not so sure because Nelson's on that Widow with no Ash in sight.
Yeah, and it's funny because the Sojourn from Reach for No Help, there was a time where Sojourn was a 100% absolute must pick. And while she is still heavily recommended, she's no longer kind of that mandatory that we used to see. So going for a traditional sniper or maybe a Hanzo or a Widowmaker or that Ash that Reach for No Help really seems to thrive on could be a very beneficial choice from Marquette. Rich is all the way in the team right now. One Sigma trying to get up close, trying to alpha another, but it's Nels who finds that first blood. Accretion's gonna whiff on both sides, but with Squid missing. Marquette probably gonna have to hold their S key a bit. The card already up and around the first two corners, often where teams get held the longest. But in less than a minute, UConn is getting danger close to capping first point.
it was just like, oh, look, you know, Rich was like, oh, look at me, I'm pushing your high ground. Forget
They
about
fell
the Widow
for it.
that's also watching Bridge. So, and now able to get the pick. They do get Axan able to get 2, and the type of gear we haven't seen them on really. We saw them on a lot of flex DPS, not as much the hit scan roll, and that time able to win them the fight, able to get a 3rd as well near the end of it. And at least now, as you said, they can hold at this U-turn to where this is where teams get held for minutes on end, Matt.
Yeah, this could be a full hold. This first Circuit Royale point has always reminded me of King's Row, what I keep calling point 1.5, you know, between point A and B, because it's where teams, if you lose momentum, you truly may never gain it back. Like, it is really difficult to find success in moments like this, especially when the defending team has such a free high ground against you. Now, Nels is trying to negate that, lands an incredible headshot, but Immortality Field was online and the garage door is opened up, one in front of another Lamborghini with a 3-piece to try and help seal the deal. Goldfish there to body as well, and Nels with the punch to the face of Reach for no help. It's all about the ego right now. It's all about that sniper duel, and it's all about UConn finding that first point cap. 4.5 minutes on the clock. Oh, Nels is bummed he missed that one, but he's gonna be able to find Axan right after.
And this is just such
they know he's back there.
Yeah, or they can at least swift step out. There it is. They just wait for Zippy to get there. Okay, save me, please. So Marquette slowly pushed their way back in. They should at least be able to play kind of near the top of the S curve here.
Yes.
But I think it's not the best spot, obviously.
Yeah, I think both teams are going to have to really equalize one another in this later S tier. An incredible accretion catch there, as that was, I believe, Rich jumping in the way to make sure, sorry, Zippy jumping in the way to make sure Reach did not get hit during that overclock. And it's not even Reach that finds the blood. It's Zippy with a 2-piece. Reach gets up close and personal, goes for the dodge and dash, and won't be able to find it as the Baptiste is there to help. Lamborghini is gone, and Nels will finally fall at the hand of Axan themselves. 3.5 minutes remain. UConn gonna lose momentum once again. They were able to gain it once, Salty. What are they looking for going into this next fight to see if they can gain it again?
I would say that, well, you need to challenge this high ground if you're UConn, right? Because
absolutely,
this is now the perfect position for these hit scans just to rain from above. Nels is off the Widow as well, which I honestly think, I don't know, the jury's still out, honestly, if that's the right pick or not.
Jury is absolutely still out. This Genji worked wonders. Won a stage for UConn back on Ilios, but it's very difficult to play it here. The style of game has changed. It's not for a control point. It's to get this payload moving, and Nels does find blood early as he re-enters the fight. Puts down Royal Ranger. Reach is gone. Squid has fallen, and Goldfish overclock. Not necessary and not valuable. They're going to lose it in that fight. UConn, they've got the groove. They found the wheels moving once again, and with a team kill, this might just be a second point cap. I'm not sure a recontest is in the cards.
I don't think it will be. I think maybe Reach for no help is able to
maybe
slide
a
on
Gravitic
in there.
Flux?
They're at least positioning for it.
Okay, I like the Amp Matrix, and okay, Reach for no help is not like the accretion. I suspect a Flux from Rich here, and absolutely is it going to be found. Catches both supports, 2 go up, and 3 come down like a bag of rocks. A 10-player kill streak for Rich, 41. 3:45 on the clock, second time they capped and had exactly 3:45 on the clock. But UConn has entered a dangerous territory, because this is where Axan can truly shine. Both May and Junkrat can get amazing value here if Marquette wants to bring it down.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see if they end up going that route. I guess the positive of re-engaging there, yes, you draw 3 ultimates from UConn, but the downside, you also use 3 ultimates, and it forced them swamped out as well. So it's not like you really gained the ultimate advantage that fight. It's more you just more mitigated the ultra advantage that UConn would have had.
Double accretion, both gonna whip, and as they approach the final corner, the Gravitic Flux from Zippy will finally make an appearance. They were at 70 during the previous fight. They're able to farm it up, but they do not bait out Immortality first, so it is completely null and void. Nels should know that there is not a Transcendence online, so if they can bait out Immortality Field, this blade could be free. Maybe you dodge the accretion as well. Dodges up high, looks for the Baptiste, wants to get Immo offline, but they forced it. Maybe a dash to someone else would not be a bad idea, but it looks like the blade isn't even what they need. It was all a bait. It was all to pull focus onto Nels. And by golly, Salty, did it work, just like Kings Row, University of Connecticut, are going to full cap Circuit Royale.
The worry is now if you're UConn, you cannot let Marquette regain momentum on the attacking ground. Because you can't have it to be where Kings Row, to where, all right, you know, you have a great attack. 235 left, especially on this map, is extremely good, considering how long teams could get held right here and at the end of first phase. But okay, you cannot let Marquette get back into this. You just need to shut it down now, and preferably just full hold on first phase, because if you let him go farther than that, the momentum, the train starts moving along a little bit faster, and I could see the Golden Eagles maybe getting back into this series yet again. But man, UConn looking great right now, and especially Rich on that Sigma, dude. He is just absolutely insane right now.
It's no surprise when they brought Rich into the fight. I mean, clearly doing an incredible job on this Sigma, maybe a Sigma veteran, truly. Like, there is this Performance that's making a big difference. It's the third player we've seen play tank for Marquette today is Zippy. And you've got to wonder, Salty, I'm sometimes cautious to swap characters in the same role because I'm a little warmed up on one than the other. You know what I mean? So to swap complete roles from DPS to tank to DPS to tank, like it's very difficult to kind of stay in the zone you need to be to find success. So Marquette, I don't know, they're really putting it all on red here, and they're trying to gamble it. Hopefully the gamble pays off.
You gotta hope, and if you're betting anyone's aim on a Widowmaker, it's going to be Reach for No Help. Because you've seen them, especially on the Soldier and the Ashe today, having an extremely good day. So we'll have to wait and see if it works out on the Widow as well. Nice little jump up early, and not able to find the shot, or at least early on. But both Widows now going to be trying to figure out where each other are setting up.
It's the bridge play once again, but Zippy does not seem to be going for the same approach of pulling kind of focus off to the sides. The snipers can get in and catch somebody early, find that free elimination, and the team can domino effect afterwards. Instead, it's University of Connecticut as a group trying to get up close with Marquette. It's going to be Reach who goes down first, but taking down the Widow isn't exactly the green light to go completely into a combat. You know that Sigma's low. You forced out Immortality Field. You've got to be looking at it. You can't go through it. You've got to at least force them out of range. And as it falls, Suzu is now missing as well. All damage, essentially permanent. Rail Ranger missing Discord on the opposing Sigma, and Nels knows it, finds the lock, and hits the target early. Zippy falls quick in a minute. 25% of the time back has already fallen.
Yeah, it's not even like they got that much done. Zippy's already making the executive decision. Something needs to change. They'll be swapping over to the dive with Zippy on that Winston. Royal Ranger going to be going over to the Ana as well, just to try and heal them a little bit better, since Squid was mainly trying to heal the DPS. Well, there's no monkey to heal. He is already dead because of the Discord orb and the shots coming in from Lamborghini. And you gotta wonder if that is an instant thought, okay, maybe that is not how we want to go at that.
Winton
is no longer Winston Wednesday, and therefore Zippy's already went over.
You can't play Winston into this. I appreciate the effort to change tanks, but Winston is not the answer. D.Va, I think, makes a little more sense, if we're being honest. Now, when you lose your mech, it's going to be a little harder to find success, but I think it does make a lot of sense in the sense that you want to eat the Widowmaker shots, you want to eat the Zen orbs, whatever, but I don't know. I want to see my battle cattle. Like, get Orisa out here. She's so strong, and no one is playing her, and I don't understand why.
It's weird, because as you said, it's like, she had a slight nerf recently, but it's definitely not a nerf that would take her out of the meta completely. But I don't blame Rich for playing the Sigma here, especially...
definitely not.
It's definitely a Sigma player, and it's working out well. I think Marquette are more just struggling to figure out how do we even challenge this high ground when they're playing this well.
They want to get Rich off the line early, but Rich is answering with an accretion of their own. Has the shield prepped in case that D.Va wants to find a dive onto one of the supports. With a Zenyatta, you think this would be a little bit easier to deconstruct Connecticut, but his guys has such incredible spacing that they're not the free elimination they're supposed to be. Instead, the team is nearly dying trying to get this Zenyatta even one time. An incredible bio-nade from Royal Ranger might finally open up the gates, but even more so, the Transcendence from Tiz guys makes all the difference. It is a 2-for-1 trade. Lamborghini missing. Royal Ranger sent into the stratosphere, entering the Rich 41 space program. Goldfish catches a pulse bomb too little too late, and Squid has to swift step out of there, trying to stay alive. We are down to sub 60 seconds, Salty, and unless Marquette gives us a miracle run, I think Connecticut's gonna have this in the bag.
Yeah, they need Squid to have a perfect Kitsune rush here. It would allow Zippy to build up that self-destruct as well, but they're just struggling to find any answers here to try and figure out how to get past this bridge.
Ooh, gonna eat the accretion once again. I don't believe you can defense matrix accretion. I feel like it's one of those exchanges you're not allowed to do that. Yeah, projectile is simply too big, and Zippy, I feel like they've spent more time out of the mech than in it. That feels like a pretty clear sign that maybe the D.Va's not where we want to bring to the table right now. But I gotta respect the swap. Like I said, I think it's completely worth it to try, and if you can get a remech kill, that would be pretty cool too. So very well done, Zippy. Unfortunately, I don't think it's enough to really put this fight away.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be enough. Switch trying to make at least something of this, trying to push on Cart, but Nels is there to shut it down.
There's a bomb, but that's just because you got remeched. You got demeched again. You got to get back in your mech. I think you're already going to lose it again. Oh, man. Yeah, Zippy absolutely spent more time there out of the mech than in it. You got to tip your hat to Marquette for trying new compositions, for trying to make new things work. But D.Va just can't run it down against the Sigma. A Zen, the Discord orbs go crazy. Speaking of Zen, my man got play of the game. Tiz Guy's a phenomenal Zen player right there, just constantly being in the front line, being in the back line, always with the harmony, always with the Discord. Just impressive through and through. And I think it's a huge part of the reason UConn had the dominance they did here on Circuit Royale.
Yeah, especially because, as we said, it is Sigma's map. Like, it is very much Sigma's map. If we were still in Overwatch 1, this would be the double shield of heaven. So I'm not surprised to see the Sigma come out, and I think Connecticut eventually found their groove a little bit.
Yeah.
I think they just got a little bit jittery during Kings Row. It's like, wait, this is happening? Like, we're throwing this game away, and that'll be one that they definitely go back to. It's like, we could have played this so much
There's
better.
a lot to learn from.
There's a lot to learn. I will say for Marquette, you play Villanova next week. That is a very winnable game next week.
Yeah.
We'll have that actually here, I think, the same time slot as well. So I'm excited to see them kind of transform in the spring split. I think especially next week, you got two teams now coming off of a tough loss. I'm curious to see how they'll both play.
Yeah, without a doubt, there's a lot to learn here. Marquette showing signs of life, showing signs of improvement, and now they've got one more week to improve even further. I believe you are correct. We'll be seeing them against Villanova in this time slot next week. But before we even worry about next week, we've got to finish today. We've got a full series coming up for you in just a little bit. But before that, we've got an interview with somebody from the University of Connecticut. So we're going to throw it to a quick break, pull them in here. We'll be right back with some more Overwatch 2 content in just a little bit. What is going on, everybody, and welcome back. Septilance and Swin Salty still on the desk, but this time joined by your boy Wings, who was arguably one of the most entertaining players we saw today and gave us quite the showing, especially on Kings Row. So, Wings, my first question, a very simple one, man. Kicking off the season, the split with a win in the books. I mean, how does that feel for the team? What do you think that's going to do for morale going into the rest of this season?
So, especially coming off of the last split, 3-5, just getting to one game below 500 honestly. For the past like 2 weeks, I've been trying to take more of a leadership role, kind of guide these guys. It's a lot of guys, and to see everything that I've been telling them about, if they put in all that work and do all that stuff that I asked them to do, which sometimes is more than ridiculous, that they can do it, and we're not where we should be.
I would say
It definitely feels great.
Yeah, I would say going into this, especially this split, we were talking about it at the very beginning, like, the fall split UConn was not the UConn we're used to seeing. Like, it was very weird. It was just not the team we're used to seeing, but today we're like, okay, this is the UConn we're used to. Like, you guys looked way more confident, way more organized. I will say, how did it feel today, especially with, Ramacha being meta, you guys subbing in? How was that dynamic going in with you and Rich kind of subbing the tanks in and out?
Well, Ben and I, it works out for us because we basically are just two sides of the same coin. Like, a lot of maps Ben doesn't like playing. Ben's Rich, by the way. I play a lot of maps that he doesn't want to play. There's a lot of maps I don't want to play. He plays, like, I hate Ilios. That's why he was on Ilios. I can't play Sigma. He was on Circuit Royale today. Played King's Row. Played Push. It's stuff like that. The kid's come in 4 weeks ago, and he's just been nothing but a sponge. And, he's got a positive attitude, and definitely something that I wanted to see out of someone who we picked up.
Yeah, you definitely. We were saying, like, Rich, especially in Circuit Royale, was dominating the lobby. He was just owning everything going on. I will say, what was the feeling after map 2? Because it seemed like you guys had a really great attack, and then it just slowly started to slip away from you guys.
Everyone was tense. Everyone was just kind of like, did that really just happen? And me being as obnoxious as I am, I just yelled, we're fine. We're fine. It doesn't matter. We're fine. It happens. We're fine. It's not like we've never done this before or anything. This isn't the first rodeo for a lot of these guys. Right. I forgot who said that. I mean, what is this? Lamborghini came in and or the ones Ben literally had never played a game of organized Overwatch.
Wow.
For UConn before this. Came in in the fall. All these other guys, they've been here since last year. And I think getting the mentality of these guys right is the most important thing. Is, because you've seen that they have the mechanical skill. I can send you a highlight tape of all of them having their mechanical skill. Really just getting into their heads and making them realize that, what they're doing matters and it works.
For sure. Matt, you got any other questions for him?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, kind of looking at the end of King's Row in particular, that final fight where there was a bit of a massive play when you came out for the Earth Shatter and then your own Mei walls off half of the Shatter. Was that just a miscommunicated moment? Was that a small thing that happened, or was that just kind of it was all everyone's trying to win the fight, it was the last fight, and just the pieces kind of fell in the wrong order?
That's what happened, because I had no clue what happened.
Well, there you go. There's your answer.
Why are they still It happens, it's definitely a different mentality. I've changed a lot as a person
for sure
from last split to this split. Is things happen and it's okay. We had a scrim, we got smacked. I remember it was Wichita. We scrimmed Wichita. I miss those guys, but we got smacked on the last map, and everyone was just kind of like, "Oh man, we lost." And once again, I just went into the chat and I say, "It's okay. It's fine to lose sometimes if you don't quit."
Yeah,
I
love that.
A big thing. And I'm going to be obnoxious with a positive attitude this year for the rest of the split. A lot of things happened in the fall that were out of our control. Guys were kind of boomed. They don't want to be around. But, that's what I want to do, is I want to make sure that these guys want to come and they want to play for UConn.
You love it. You love to hear it. I love the positive mental attitude. That's one of my favorite things about collegiate players is the resilience and the ability to continue playing and continue learning. And Wings, you exuberate all of that so much, and I love every bit of it. But one more question for you, and then we'll let you hit the road. Is there anybody you want to give a thank you or a shout out to just while you're here with us?
Main shout is Ben. It's hard to come into a team 3 weeks with 3 weeks of preparation, was 6-7 scrims, lose your coach, completely just change everything, and just come in and dominate. I remember when I saw him apply to want to join the team, I saw a freshman, and I go, this kid can be here for the next 3 to 4 years,
right?
Even when I'm gone, and just this team's in good hands. That kid plays hard. That kid plays with a lot of passion. I just saw him yesterday, and you could tell that he was comfortable.
You love to hear it. I love it. I love everything you said, Wings. I love to hear the positivity. I love to hear the growth of the team, and I love to see UConn getting another week of success. Best of luck to you in the future. I'm hoping we get to interview you again soon.
All right, thank you.
And with that, folks, we are going to go ahead and throw it. What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the final series of EGFC Overwatch 2 happening here tonight. University of Delaware versus UT Arlington. Now, Salty, of the 6 schools we have seen today, these 2 are easily the upper echelon of those 6. 2 powerhouses are about to duel right here on EGF Overwatch.
Yes, they are. Delaware 6-1. Only loss was to William & Mary just a few months ago. UTA 7-1. Only loss was week 1 way back when to Hawaii. So 2 very great teams in the fall split. We'll have to see if they're able to carry that over, though, here in spring.
It's tough, too, because somebody takes an L. Game number 1, somebody has to take an L, so it's immediately going to replace that one that William & Mary gave them or that Hawaii gave them, and it's going to be the other school that takes them down. Now, if you've been watching our series here tonight, or if you haven't, we're rocking with the same map pool, which means map number 1 is none other than Ilios, and it looks like we're starting on Ilios well with an immediate disconnect the boot, so hopefully UT Arlington can jump in just a minute or two, but we did get a little bit of a teaser at the compositions they might be bringing out. Now, whether or not they stick to it, we don't know, but I do see that battle cattle, my girl Orisa, and I hope she truly does make an appearance in this matchup.
I could definitely see Delaware sticking to that. At least looking at what they're running that, Lucio Kiriko, Tracer Sojourn. I could definitely see it, especially over here. I believe it was Well that is going to be our first round. And yeah, I could definitely see it. It's one of them, environmentals galore available for the Orisa. So I assume that's going to be what they are running. UTA, they have the Echo. That's, I think, the only thing that was a little bit different. Have the Echo in play over there. Could be something we could watch out for with that Echo versus Sojourn matchup.
Echo versus Sojourn is scary. We talked a lot about how Sojourn can be very valuable at taking the Pharah down, at taking an Echo down, because I don't like playing a Widow into either of those, because hard scoping is really difficult. You're looking up in the sky, the other 4 are probably looking right at you, so it's very difficult to get that value, but with a Sojourn, Soldier, incredible mobility on the both of them, so it would be a very viable pick. And the Echo, you play your corners right, you play your angles, you play your rooftops, you can make it work. It's just a little riskier of a choice.
You have to be playing massively around the lighthouse, and not the lighthouse, the windmill there.
Yeah.
Just trying to play a lot of cover. It does sound like somebody's internet went out at UTA, which, granted, with the weather going on in Texas, it definitely makes sense. So we will be going on a very quick break. We'll be with you when we are back with some internet on the UTA side. just gotta keep moving forward.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back. We're hoping it's just a fluke and Tomato Lord can join us for the entirety of this series. We know there's some pretty crappy weather going on in Texas right now. We're hoping that they can stay with us through this series, but if they have to go, they have to go. So hopefully we can enjoy their presence as long as we get to have it. So, Salty, team comps, we got the touchdown on Delaware. UT Arlington, they're doing something for sure.
We're starting to think this Wrecking Ball pick is not as much of a troll pick as I thought it was initially today. Because this is the third time we've seen it. And the second time we've tried it, we've seen a team try it here over on Well, just to try and get some environmental kills. The only issue is that Arrest was going to be trying to hit them with a javelin 24/7.
And something that I've told UTA beforehand is when I think of Wrecking Ball, I do think of Tomato Lord as that collegiate player because he really used to be a menace on the ball back in Overwatch 1, but Overwatch 2 and 1 are very, very different games, so maybe Tomato Lord might struggle to find that same value, especially with Orisa's new javelin in the game. It makes it so hard for Ball to do literally anything because the second she catches him off kilter, no way! Stank with what should have been a 2, but Hyper does make it back up and out, and Stank does not get to say the same. That badge will be removed from that fight, and University of Delaware starting very strong.
Very strong indeed, and as Tomato Lord tried to go out for the rollout, gets javelin into the pillar there and just gets focused down. It may be something that they have to watch out for here during the rest of this map, as Ideal Warriors will be looking out for them 24/7.
Goes the Wrecking Ball into the back line. It looks like it's going to find value early. Nate will be eliminated as the Sojourn falls offline. That's kind of a go button for UT Arlington a little bit. A perfect play from Ideal Warrior as they want to keep that Wrecking Ball as far away as possible and interrupt as many cooldowns as they can. Fortify online, and it's every bullet on that massive hitbox that Wrecking Ball has. 70% minefield still alive, but it feels like just barely as every time Tomato Lord shows their face, it feels like Ideal Warrior is waiting just around the corner. Oh, Hyper!
Hyper is just, he's acting very hyper right now. Able to get a few, able to get a third as well. And then Lucio is able to sneak on. Already has the sound barrier online as well. And so far on one of Lucio's best maps, playing extremely well. And the Wrecking Ball pick, it's been able to disrupt and able to get a kill here and there, but in these elongated fights, just not getting the value it needs.
Yeah, it's tough because Ball loses so much value just in Overwatch 2. He was known as kind of that secondary tank to get into the back line, to flank, to be annoying, but if he's in the back line, there's no tank in the front line in Overwatch 2, and that's why it can be so difficult to play. A Minefield comes out, the Terra Surge from Ideal Warrior finds no purchase, but it's Pod who breaks that curse first. Dez will go down, Duplicate just barely offline. Could be a moment where Delaware might win this out 100-0. They're just a few seconds away with nearly 4 ultimates in their pocket. Oh, that'll help. Kitsune, there's the pulse. I mean, here comes everything under the sun, the beat to boot, and all of a sudden, Hyper is looking active all over again. Shino catches his javelin to the face, and Nate should end it all. Duplicate is not going to get you far enough, unfortunately, Dez. UT Arlington dominated on stage number 1 of Helios. It's just about delaying the inevitable now, and even the tank can barely last a second out there with the damage they're putting out.
Yeah, it's just not working out, and I will say, underrated Terra Surge there from Ideal Warrior. It actually got rid of all of the mines from Tomato Lord, so they were.
Well, I think she was Terra Surge first.
I think they used Terra Surge. Mind was used.
Oh, okay. I thought Mines came
by
first.
the time they actually landed the Terra Surge, they got rid of all the mines. So they were able to escape free, and Tomato Lord's big play just got no purchase.
Yeah, a bit of a faulty play from Tomato Lord. Perhaps it was kind of, perhaps those ults were used in tandem as Minefield does take a little longer on the activation, but it definitely works out well with that Terra Surge. Clears the entire area, and all of a sudden an ult traded for an ult. You're both set back at 0, and with the advantage Delaware had prior, that set to 0 was still an advantage for Delaware.
A huge advantage for Delaware, and now we go over to Lighthouse, to where neither side wanting to make a change, both feeling very good about what they're running. The only change, I should say, actually, Stank Badge now on the Mercy to try and give Dez a little bit more of a pocket. And yeah, I like the call here.
I like it as long as Stank Badge stays out of the LOS of Nate. If Nate just flips the wings of Mercy early, it's never going to be worth it. We saw, I don't remember who it was, but a Mercy earlier today go down 4 times in a row at the hands of the opposing DPS. And speaking of DPS, Nate's trying to put out as much damage per second as possible. Dez falls in an unresable position, so that forces Stank Badge to get onto point, a very predictable spot to be. An ideal warrior wants to make sure there's not an ideal support line for UT Arlington any longer. Delaware, I mean, this was supposed to be close, but they are feeling large and in charge. So
they are feeling good right now. They'll be able to get at least a little bit of a stall, but nothing much. And Dez already made the executive decision. I'm not trying to play Echo into that. Going to swap over to the Soldier. Nice little shot there from Nate as well to finish off the little play. And yeah, Dez swapping. Stank Badge going back over to Lucio. Seeing, yeah, they little experiment with Echo. Could have worked, but seeing the shots that Nate's hitting already, it's just not worth it. And we do have, I hope, we may have another, I think this is an internet pause. We'll have to wait and see what.
Yeah, nobody's gone.
Our wonderful producer. Yeah, our wonderful producer, Ann, will try and figure out what's going on. Back to us for a second. Tomato Lord has swapped onto the Sigma. So we'll have to wait and see, but we'll have to wait and hear what the pause is about.
It gives us a little more time to talk, which is neat.
It does.
Because I do want to talk about how Echo falls in this weird, not meta, but also not meta. You know what I mean? Like, she is truly in the gray space, and I think it falls to the value of the Echo player. If you're playing as Dez and you can get a lot of value, yes, Echo has a lot of burst damage. She's very strong, especially against compositions that are starting with a Roadhog or a Junker Queen. But when there's a hit scan on the other side, ripping your wings off your body every time you show your face, probably swap to something else. It's very tough to play those vertical characters in a game that has so many hit scan.
Exactly. If they're not running a hit scan, let's say they're running like the Reaper May that we saw earlier today, then yes, go for it. Even if it's a Cassidy, I think you can play with around a Cassidy because it's not as much burst damage. But against a Soldier and an Ash Soldier, you're just not.
Well, especially when you have a Mercy pocket, because Cassidy has to hit 3-4 shots to take you down. So Jordan has to hit 1 railgun. It's a much different game to be played. You know, you force Cassidy into a 2v1. Cassidy cannot win that traditionally unless you've got the High Noon online. But Sojourn in a 2v1, and she's making that a 1v1 just as quickly that she will probably still go on to win. It's a very confusing dynamic, a very difficult one at that. But it's a tough spot to be in, especially with UTA getting all these disconnects. You know, maybe it's a disconnect again. It feels like maybe the Wi-Fi is giving them a problem as well, the internet. But whatever it is, it's not working well, so we're going to try to get it figured out as fast as we can for you guys. Hopefully the series can continue, but I can hear our producer furiously typing, so something is going on deep in the back line right now. We're hearing everything's fine, is what we're hearing, so hopefully... Oh!
Lobby code issue. Okay, that does change a few things. The hope is not... My hope is that we don't have to reset.
It depends what the issue is.
Yeah, it depends what the issue is. We'll have to wait and see. I'm at least happy to hear it's not internet issues.
Agreed.
Because a lobby code issue can be fixed. Internet issues, especially in Texas right now, are a little...
It makes sense. We're going to have some.
Yes, we're going to have some with what's going on over there. I know there was rolling blackouts during times this weekend, so we're not obviously sure when those are going to hit. You know, I'm in Arizona, you're in Ohio. Like, we don't know.
I'm way out of the way. I just found out about the rolling blackouts from you and Aeon when this broadcast started. I truly did not know, but
so I'm not entirely surprised we're having that issue, but obviously a lobby code issue is something that we want to try and figure out here. We'll have to wait and see. Do we want to go to break, Producer Aeon, or are we wanting to stick around?
I'm feeling like the answer might be yes, personally. Okay, new information. Okay. We're heading to break, folks. Thank you so much for bearing with us through this, but I'm sure you guys don't want us to sit here and ramble as much as we don't want to sit here and ramble, so we will see you right back here as soon as these problems are figured out. I'll try to keep you updated in chat if we can get this figured out as fast as we can, but we'll see you back here with this matchup in just a bit. Don't go far. right, y'all, we're back. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm going to run it down as fast as I can. Long story short, Ramatro was accidentally locked in the lobby code they were using. Both teams are comfortable sticking with stage 1 counting, so Ilios, well, does count. Delaware is technically up 1, but the game isn't going to say that because obviously, right? So University of Delaware, if they win this one, Ilios is over. They will win it 2-0. But if UT Arlington can clutch out a win, now they've got Ramatro around, they're a little more comfortable maybe, then we'll go all the way to another stage. We'll go to stage 3 if we have to. But right now, it's going to be a good old-fashioned reset. They were like 10% into that stage, so they didn't mind going for the reset. And here it is. A lot of composition changes, Salty.
A lot, especially both teams running the Ramatro know that he's not accidentally locked, and Andrew's well going on to the Reaper.
The Reaper can make a big difference here. It's certainly no Tracer, but he can survive a couple of shots as well. Tomato Lord falls to the University of Delaware. Pod 3,600, and it looks like the rest of the team isn't going to be far behind. Losing your tank is so pivotal in these types of matchups when there's only one tank on the table. When they fall, your team's got nobody to hide behind. Usually after that, it just becomes a firing range.
Yeah, just everybody firing away, and there's not much you can really do at that point other than try and use some natural cover to get out of the way. But Delaware, again, it's basically like we were in round 2 again. They win the first fight, and now trying to see what UTA can do.
UTA wants to rewrite history. They want to shake things up just a little bit, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to with the momentum boost we're seeing so far. Andrew gets a lot of damage, but it's not about the damage, it's about the E-limbs. Ideal Warrior gets that power block, gets to walk away once again. UT Arlington, they're close, but it feels really reminiscent of our very first series today, where a team was danger close to capping, but constantly would get stuck in choke. They fall victims to ultimate after ultimate. You know, this time it's the Annihilation that comes through. It helps pick up a 2-piece. Nope, let's make it a 4. There's only one player left standing, and Stink Badge isn't even going to try to run. Going into this, though, Salty, a lot of ultimates can be played.
Oh, so many ultimates can be played. We could see all 4 from Delaware, plenty from Arlington as well. And I just said, Arlington are having like the Marquette syndrome right now, like chilling around point, getting around point, but kind of getting stuck at some of these chokes and not being able to really, you know, convert these fights really early on.
Kitsune comes out from June now. It's going to be answered out by Shino. A bit of a Kitsune flash, and it's the pulse bomb. That snipes Tomato Lord in the wings. That's a bummer here, as he doesn't even get to use the Annihilation. Andrew is gone, and the Annihilation is the beginning of UT Arlington getting annihilated. I believe this is just going to be the only stage we're going to play of Ilios. The first one did count, so Delaware is 14 seconds away from winning Ilios into a regulation.
We'll have to see here if UTA can fight back. Obviously, Dez already gets a pick on the pod, so opening this up to be a 4v5, and has that overclock ready to go.
The overclock online, and here it goes. It is go time, or it is no time for UT Arlington to get in and play the action quickly. The beat has to come off from Stank Badge just to keep the team alive. Death Blossom online, but Andrew might get booped off the map before they can use it. Can't quite find the Ajax either. So the team will get that shield boost they need, and holy cow, Andrew is obliterated from the matchup there. University of Delaware, they've got the numbers all over again. Nate finds Tomato Lord, and I believe that is going to be the end of Ilios, my friends. Ideal Warrior gonna put the punches down on a couple more members of UT Arlington, and no one can make it in time. Delaware, I didn't know they could come and look any better than they already did, but clearly this team has been practicing over that extended break.
Oh, they've been playing extremely well. You know, they've been playing in this. They're playing in the ECAC as well, where honestly they're playing, I would say, more consistent opponents through their skill. Obviously, EGF, we have such a wide range here. Sometimes you have a match where you feel really good and you're close against a match like William and Mary, and then you could have someone, you know, like Southern Utah, who's still trying to pick up the pieces and try and figure out what they want to do. So Delaware feeling very good about it so far, but you can even say the same about UTA. I saw them in a few Belong tournaments over this winter break. I saw them around, so they're definitely putting in the work. It's just that map didn't really feel like they had anything going for them, and as soon as they pop the Annihilation, Pod throws in the Pulse Bomb, just denies everything from there, and the Mavericks really not able to start their stride on a good mark.
Yeah, it feels very you know, might just not be our map. That happens very often. There's a lot of teams. You know, there's a couple of teams that I see often outside of the EGFC that will consistently lose the control map and then 3-1. Like every time. There's something about control maps that can often break a team, but I'm not sure that's what's happening. You know, UT Arlington is very talented. University of Delaware, they are indomitable. They are unbreakable when they play at their absolute highest. And going into Kings Row, we've seen a lot of compositions on Kings Row today, and you've got to wonder, do we get the good old-fashioned Ryan run back? I'd be stoked if we did, but knowing these teams, knowing how much they're going to have to fight tooth and nail to win tonight, I don't think it's going to be comfort picks. I think they're going to hard run the meta and try to take each other out as fast as they can.
Yeah, I think we'll be seeing meta tonight. I don't see them really deviating from that a super amount. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, to see what they want to do. But I think the Ramatsu will probably be in play again, just because, well, especially for Delaware, how well they played it.
Right.
Like, why would you swap off of it when your tank's playing that well on the
If
hero?
it ain't broke.
So we'll have to wait and see. I think the only one we could see maybe is Pod, just because of Tracer. Not as great on King's Row. There's not as many flank angles that you can get around
Pod
to.
plays
like
junk, though.
True. Pod does play junk. We've seen him pull out the May as well. Maybe the May should pop up, because we've seen
both viable.
A lot of great May gameplay today, and then also some blocking their own shatters. So we'll have to wait and see which one we get. I'm sorry. I thought that was hilarious. I thought Wings knew.
Yeah, I thought he knew, and then he's like, oh, that's what happened. I was like, oh. That was a rough moment.
I apologize, Sam, for throwing you under the bus.
That was a rough moment for sure, but accidents are going to happen, you know? Like, not a big deal. They still won. I loved kind of what Wings was saying in that moment as well. He's like, you know what? It happened. Whatever. Like, we'll just try to make sure it doesn't happen again. And these teams definitely don't want that to happen as well. I'd love to see the Rhine, but considering the only worse tank in the game than Rhine right now might be Zarya, and she's still got an argument to be better, it's a very difficult spot to be in. You know, Junker Queen, she got buffed, so she's pretty good now. It's like, it's just my man Ryan down there hanging out by himself.
Yeah,
everybody else has these
him and Wrecking Ball and Zarya kind of chilling at the bottom, like, please help us, Blizzard. Like, can you give us at least a little bit of a buff? And it seems like at least in Season 3 next week, we could be seeing it. So, hey, this could be the last week of non-Rhine meta. We'll wait and see. I don't know. We obviously don't know the exact patch notes. We've heard it's more Fire Strike changes than anything else.
Which isn't why he's losing the tank matchup. It has nothing to do with the Fire Strike, but the fact they're trying is enough for me right now. I mean, yeah, I digress. We're trying. That's what matters. And speaking of trying, looks like we're trying quite a few new things. I mean, I'm not too worried about the attacking team. They've got plenty of time to swamp, but Pod is locking the junk. Yeah, I'm stoked that I got that prediction right, as Pod really, like, when I think of Pod, I think of junk rather than Tracer. Like, this is truly the matchup I expect to see. And King's Row can be Junkrat's playground if you play correctly and if you have a strong enough understanding of the character, which I'm positive Pod does.
Oh, they definitely do. They've been around for such a long time on that hero, and especially Junkrat and Tracer have kind of become his two really great heroes. I'd say Reaper third behind that, but he has been really great at the Junkrat for a long time, so I'm not surprised. UTA, the Symmetra coming out for the rotate over here, and now we'll try to rotate along the wide side here, trying to figure out what Delaware wants to do.
I love this rotation, but it runs the same risk it did back on the first approach of King's Row in our most previous series, where it's gonna take a long time. It's already 30 seconds. When the TP in, very intelligent, you split focus, but it looks like you boxed yourselves in perfectly for a player like Pod to just spam. It's just looking for that spray and pray, and they might be able to find it on Tomato Lord, who has locked in the Reinhardt. Very difficult, especially against Ramatra, who can melt your shield from literally any distance. Pod goes in deep, finds Des early, and UT Arlington, their exit strategy is obliterated. There's no TP to get you out of there, and Tomato Lord, the only way you're leaving is in a body bag, my friend. Pod finds a two-piece, and Delaware burns exactly a minute off the clock, and this push isn't even technically over.
Yeah, they still have 3 stuck back here. Yeah, the pitch is gonna come through. Goodness. Everybody's taking out. There's gonna be more time gone for the Mavericks, and it will be at least them swapping off the sim. They use it one fight and gone, but it has been a minute and a half push, and the stalls just keep on coming through. Pod with another elimination, and Delaware basically had to win one fight to take off half of the time bank from UTA.
That's definitely a G on Shing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've been saying Chino for the past 20 minutes. All right, whatever, Shing, my apologies. I see it now, but UT Arlington, they've got the Rhine online, 70% to 30 off of a shatter, and Delaware getting a little closer on ultimates of their own. The slow on the Reinhardt is so valuable there because they can pin him into the corner just like that. It forces him to split his focus, and even the shield can't save you from these punches if you go in fast enough. Ideal Warrior looking to annihilate UT Arlington once again. Kitsune online for Shing. They have to switch step out of there, and Andrew does take the unkillable down. Ideal Warrior falls. Kitsune comes out from Shing as they want to just body the rest of Delaware as fast as possible. Pod almost falls. No, scratch that. Will fall. And it looks like UT Arlington will crack this point open. It takes 2 minutes, but better late than never.
Once they swap off to the non-sim comp, they're able to bust on through, and I think it just took, like, I don't blame them for the rotate. I think it is such a high risk, though, for a low reward on that TP, so I don't blame them for swapping it off, and now they can at least start moving their way forward. They may be able to hold on here towards Archway and not allow Delaware to hold her, and they definitely will.
The Suzu, just so good. You gotta wait for the Suzu to shatter, or you're not gonna get anything.
Oh!
Pod, though, he says, I don't see a Suzu in sight. I know exactly what I'm gonna do against this team. Finds the Pod 3 3600 Riptire and cleans house against ETR.
And just like that, Delaware can actually hold Archway. Just because that one little ultimate, they now have the power position, able to utilize this cover. Again, UTA either need a very long rotate or need to find a way through this very tight choke where they only have that payload as natural cover. Or they're just going to back up and Dez is able to pop heads. I guess that's also on the card.
Yeah, Juno falling. I mean, that's Suzu offline. That's Kitsune run. If there's nothing that a lot of this healing can do, it's up the Hyper to try and heal the team through a heck of a lot of damage coming from the side of UT Arlington. I enjoyed that they've had 2 on cart for a majority of this combat because it's going to get the cart a heck of a lot further than it would have normally. Tomato Lord giving us their best wings impression, but it might not work well. That overclock was deleted from Andrew and Delaware. We're really relying on that to be their opener for this combat. Kitsune Rush still isn't going to be enough. They are just getting bodied by UT Arlington. 2:40 left on the clock, and UTA, they are just keeping a strong hand on King's Row.
They are just playing extremely well now that they've settled into this composition, right? Like, they're starting to rotate the ults. Shing now has that Kitsune Rush if they want to try and punish a Delaware aggression. You know, Delaware, I don't know if they even get there in time.
I think they're gonna try, Salty, but losing Pod early. Oh, misses the pin. A very valiant effort from Tomato Lord, but that same risk may be the reason they're gonna lose this fight. Nobody's there to damage the Annihilator fast enough. An Ideal Warrior gonna look for a 3-piece if they can find Shing on the Fury. And yep, so Jordan, not far behind. Nate is the one to steal those eliminations, and this is the worst possible spot to lose your momentum because it takes a heck of a long time to get back to this card, excuse me.
It will take a very long time. 145. They probably got, if they lose this next one, maybe 1 to 2 fights afterwards, depending on the pacing of this next fight. They will be looking for a very early opening, though, if Andrew can lane this Riptire.
The Riptire worked well for Delaware to win a fight. Can Arlington mimic the same? Here comes the Tire. He's going to be coming from the flank, but I don't think it's going to work well enough. Already at half damage, gets taken out, and Pod says, hey, that didn't work. Why don't I show you how it's done, my friend? Oh, only a 1-piece, but I love the intelligence from Pod to know that they were not going to be able to get any further before the HP hit 0, so they had to pop it. They're able to win the fight off the back of it, and Delaware spent a lot, but truly no more than Arlington did, so this is essentially a reset.
Yeah, a huge reset. And as you said, good discipline there from Pod, realizing, yes, I need to send this in and get something, but don't get too greedy with it so it'll get broken before they explode it. So able to at least get the one, and they actually just relied on the follow-up from Juno, able to take out their Kiriko counterpart to finish off the fight. And now, in reality, you got one elongated fight left if you're the Mavericks. You really don't have that much time.
One elongated fight is all they've got in their pocket, and it's got to be a miracle run. This Shatter has to hit at least 2 or 3, and we got to talk about the Suzu. If it drops, it's going to be a disaster, but if you hit the Kiriko, she can't drop anything. It's a phenomenal one, but oh my goodness, it's traded out by the Kitsune Ramatra, dominating the fight. You hate to see it. Tomato Lord does everything right, but Delaware, they had a Kitsune, and Arlington simply didn't, just 2% shy of having that ult online, but that ult missing, I truly believe, Salty, makes the difference in that fight.
It really does, even though Tomato Lord miraculously actually able to roll on through. The question is, will it actually be able to bring them a fight win, or is this just stalling the inevitable? And I think it'll be the latter. It is just Andrew chilling on point. Annihilation is online. Sound Barrier online.
Ooh.
This is not going to be taken away from the Blue Hens, and they will settle in on a nice street space defense.
Yeah, that is very strong. I kept calling it King's Row 1.5, right? And that's exactly why, because teams, when they get stalled right there, they rarely make it back. I did catch that disconnect that just happened before we jumped into the second half. I believe it was Dez again. So, folks, you know, usually we could be upset at a player for a disconnect, but it's Texas. They're having a lot of weather issues right now that are infecting both their power and internet. So, We gotta give it to them this week at least. And UT Arlington, it stinks. You know, they're already going to be down. They have a pretty rough run on the offense, and their ping, I can only assume, is probably terrible. The way their internet can just not stabilize tonight.
Yeah, it just seems like Mother Nature is rooting against the Mavericks today, and you can't do anything. Like you said, you were at the mercy of the internet working, and I will say that's probably maybe part of it. Delaware is also playing phenomenally.
Oh,
though.
no
Not
doubt.
to take any
Yeah,
credit away from
absolutely.
them. I think the Ramatra gameplay, they're timing it perfectly. The Kitsune rush with the Nemesis form.
They're reading
That's
the
just-
Suzus.
It's great. It's basically Annihilation on steroids because you don't have to worry about the cooldown, but you can just swing away. So
Faster than normal, too.
Faster than normal. So I think that's set up as well. They've used incredibly well. If you said Pod, he's the Junkrat connoisseur, just like yourself. I see Junkrat chilling in your background
My
as well.
boy, my
He's back
boy.
there. So I'm not totally shocked. I'm a little surprised that UTA again is one of the staple EGFC schools. They've been around for a long time. You know, Tiki, I think he's still in a coaching role over at the Mavericks.
I believe so, yeah.
I believe so. Coach Tiki, you know, he was around for a long time, now shifting over there. And I think it's got to be one heck of a team talk right now because it's just not, they're able to get a few of the parts to work. It's just not all working at once.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a point, Salty, and gosh, I hope I'm thinking of the proper team. I believe Arlington did actually experience a couple of role changes and player replacements this split.
Yeah.
I think you just reminded me of that. Tiki, I believe, is studying abroad this season. It is split and is not able to play and will graduate. So Tiki, the last time we saw them was that last split. And so my gut tells me there was one other player who, unfortunately, their name is slipping my mind at the moment. But that brings a lot of information to light. That explains why we haven't seen Shing before. That explains why we haven't seen Andrew before. And that explains why maybe Arlington is going to struggle a little bit at the beginning of this split. Because this is not the Arlington we last left.
No, this is definitely a different Arlington, at least early on. And again, it's maybe just a very sluggish start. And sometimes that happens when you have a brand new roster. I shouldn't say brand new, but a new
A
five
drastically
into the mix.
changed roster, yeah.
Yes, and it's also not a meta that really fits Tomato Lord's hero pool. He is massively a main tank player, and right now, Ryan, not in a great spot. Wrecking Ball, not in a great spot. His Ramatra is not bad so far. I think it's just Ideal Warriors is insane, so it's hard to keep up with it. So now on this defense, they will elect to go to the Wrecking Ball and just try and cause all sorts of chaos.
Wrecking Ball can work here, but it's back to the kind of the play style of Tomato Lord can't be defaulting to Overwatch 1 choices of trying to be the flank in the backline, trying to be the distractor, because the second that tank isn't there, Delaware is collapsing onto that point.
Yeah, just collapse right on through, and let's see if Tomato Lord's able to get this nice little pile drive in and able to land, I think, all 5 members as well, yeah.
That is a strong start for Tomato Lord, who's already 30% onto that ultimate, and the entire team rushing him down as if they're going to catch him. A confusing choice, if I'm being honest, especially when they walk out into a choke like that, and the rest of Arlington is just waiting to strike, so a player goes down, it's going to be Nate, and Tomato Lord already halfway to the ultimate. Ideal Warrior at 11% entirely. Passive ult charge. I mean, it shows a sign of life for Arlington. They're going to play unconventional, they're going to play weird, but this might be how they find their success.
Have a Chengdu strategy, right? Like old school Chengdu had their own style of play, and it worked. Let's see if Tomato Lord is able to do that this time around. Ideal Warrior able to escape with the Orisa Javelin spin, and now they rotate over on that high ground, which I would say a little more crucial for how UTA is defending, just because they are so strong.
Yeah, you got to break through them, right? You got to find just 1 or 2 to isolate, collapse down on, and send them back to the spawn room as fast as you can. Ideal Warrior wants the supports, but just can't catch him. It might even be overextending to try. I'm not sure how many teammates are behind him. I know a couple are still on the high ground. Pod, Gone, taken down via headshot from the Tarbjarn, and it looks like Ana might not be of this world of coil much longer. Ideal Warrior wants everything on that Ana, and they are finally going to be able to get it. Looks like Dez may be joining Ana in the spawn room very soon. Has to pop the overcharge, trying to keep themselves alive, and it looks like it'll work well. Suzu is gone, and that will be the beginning of the end for UT Arlington on the defense. Even the minefield, I think, comes in a little too late.
Yeah, you think maybe the swap's coming in now from Tomato Lord, seeing how late that was, or they're planning for a late recontest, seeing that there's not even a tick yet on this, and most of them are actually back. So I think it was more, hey, let's stall them a few extra seconds. A Pod waiting around this corner, just waiting for somebody to try and stall on in.
Pod finds Dez. That could be big here. Delaware needs another advantage against UT Arlington, and Dez falling gets a lot off the table. Molten Core was already used, so not worried about that. They have their Kitsune to get hyper aggressive, and while Stankbad is just trying to stall for as long as possible, like I said earlier, it's just a delay of the inevitable. There's nothing that's going to happen here that we didn't expect to happen. Ideal Warrior gets a Javelin Spinny Limb. I didn't expect that to happen, but it's still cool regardless. Delaware, they're playing calm, cool, and collected right now.
Playing extremely well, especially, you know, this has been a roster for a long time that we've said, yeah, they're up towards the top, but they've never been at the top. And I think this year may finally be their dues because they're playing extremely well. They don't have to worry about a Colorado. They don't have to worry about a Wichita. You know, Colorado is not as great this year. Hawaii wants to wait and see. Obviously, they're in a pretty good spot. But Delaware in a decent spot to, you know, go from, you know, maybe on the top 5 looking, you know, just on the outside to, you know, top 3, top 2 on the way in.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're completely right. There's only a couple of teams that come to mind straight away, and I'm thinking Hawaii, I'm thinking UTK, you know, like there's some real top dogs in the area, but Delaware wants to establish themselves. They want to become that upper echelon team. Like you said, they're reaching for the podium right now, and I'm fully aware that they are going to reach it this season if this is the gameplay we're expecting. Now, it's difficult to kind of counter them against UT Arlington, right, because we haven't seen some of UT Arlington before. A lot of this is a new roster, so maybe they're still working out the lines, the wrinkles in the cloth, but right now, Delaware, if this is what they can bring to the table, I can't imagine many teams can stop them.
No, there is very few at the top of my head that could. I think the only two were UTK and Hawaii, but so far UTA said, hey, we're not done quite yet, able to pick off 2. Tomato Lord at least able to get some extra ult charge. Now we'll have that minefield for this next fight, where a lot of ults could be used. 4 available for UTA, 3 will be available for Delaware once Juno able to build up that Kitsune versus Stink Badge. Going on a little bit of a flank here, actually. Will be...
Okay, certainly a choice. The minefield is going to fall late. A nano boost to catch, and I feel like nanoing Tomato Lord is an option, but I feel like maybe the Sojourn and the Torbjorn should have gone first, especially because I don't think nano boosts the damage of the mines themselves, just the pile drive. So that's all the real value Tomato Lord got out of that pile drive, and I don't know, I would have personally held onto the minefield until the last possible moment because that's an ultimate that clears points 10 out of 10 times. Like, that's how you make space for your team when they have absolutely none. Kitsune Clash going to be caught by Kings Row, 1.5 in the rushdown from Delaware, finds themselves deep in the back line. That swift step is not going to be enough for Shing to stay alive. Andrew, Stankbat's gone. I think that's going to be enough. I believe the University of Delaware will find their victory here on Kings Row. They're trying to stall, they're trying to delay, but what they don't realize is it's just an elongated stagger. Dez probably done here on KR, and Tomato Lord gonna look to stall, but already less than half HP.
Yeah, not a lot of health to deal and to work with. And Terra Surge online, ready to go, which could just be the last killer here. Middler at least tries to go back in. They are getting close to the next minefield, 83%. Suzu able to get UT out of that Terra Surge as well.
Oh, Andrew gone. Ideal Warrior just handing the numbers over to UT Arlington once again. Another minefield is very impressive from Tomato Lord, and with a Molten Core to boot. You wonder if it's going to be enough, but it seems like there's plenty of places to stand that aren't in the fray. And they only need 1 to win Kings Row today. So they're going to be able to find it, the second point on the board, and it is a 2-0 series to lock it out.
2-0, and UDEL, man. What a team so far. They're just feeling so comfortable. We'll have to wait and see, obviously, what Coliseo brings, but the Blue Hens definitely not being afraid of the Mavericks currently is. This was the tower that honestly set up their entire defense to where it needed to be. Able to get the 3K, they hold towards Arch, and then they had the flexibility from that point on. They could hold towards Arch. They could hold farther back. They had that flexibility where if they lose that fight, they really don't have.
Yeah, I mean, losing that fight can make or break. Losing any fight, as we saw way back in the overtime of our previous series, you lose one fight, and it changes the history of the map forever. Yeah. And everything changes, and it can all begin to crumble. Now, our producers probably gonna ask, you know, if they want to take a break, but I'm assuming they, very similar to us, don't want to because we want to get UT Arlington out of here as fast as we can. So we want to run it down on these maps. Coliseo's coming up next. Could be our final map of the night. I truly don't know, Salty, but if we want to see UT Arlington win, what changes are you wanting to see to the roster? I think the Wrecking Ball is obvious, but past that, is there anything you're like, maybe you try something new?
I think, well, obviously the Wrecking Ball, as you said, is something that I think we need to see changed. Other than that, maybe you try and go the Mercy Pocket. Maybe you just try and full in with Dez, have Andrew try and maybe be something else. I just don't feel like the Torb did not work very well. The Tracer did not work very well when they were in it. The Reaper as well. Like, nothing has seemed to work so far on that regard. I would personally, especially on a map like Coliseum, it's such long sight lines, chuck them on a Hanzo or something, on a Soldier, on an Ashe, or anything like that. Try and at least put a little bit more pressure onto Nate 12 for Delaware, because he's just having the time of his life back there. He's not having to worry about anybody diving him, because the only time somebody did was Tomato Lord, and he had such great peel that he really didn't have to worry about it too much.
Not worrying about it was the name of the game, without a doubt. You know, Tomato Lord is finding themselves stuck in this scenario, and I think it's not Tomato Lord's fault, it's Wrecking Ball's fault for being bad right now. Like, Wrecking Ball is such a difficult tank to get value with, and I can't stress it enough. Ball was built to be in the back line while the main tank, or not the main tank, rather the other tank was in the front line. That was the name of the game. You make it one tank, what do you do on Wrecking Ball? Like, there's so little to be done. Sure, you can be a backline nuisance, but while you are, your team's probably getting ripped to shreds. It's a very difficult game to play, and going into Coliseum, I'm just fingers crossed that we do not see the Wrecking Ball. I unfortunately just do not think that the stars are aligned right now in Overwatch for that to be a choice.
No, and, you know, maybe in a week or two, it's a different story. But right now, especially with how good Orisa was, there was so many times where Tomato Lord would try and do a rollout and we get Javelin. So all the momentum stops. Your pile drive, if you're in the middle of the animation, stops. So there's nothing you can really do about that point, and then you're stuck like, yo, okay, my rollout's done, where do I even go? Yeah. So that is the kind of the issue Tomato Lord has really hit, is no matter what, it's like the Doom syndrome as well.
Yep.
Like, Doom against Orisa. Doom against Orisa does not work. Ball against Orisa does not work because of the stuns being
it's
there
the momentum
all the time.
Stop.
Yes.
It's the fact that Orisa has the Sentinel feat from Dungeons and Dragons. Like, and the second she hits you, you immediately, your mobility drops to 0, and you do not get to move for the rest of your turn. But it's just, it's confusing, and it's difficult, and we're in a spot where some tanks are great to play. Probably the most that have ever been at one point can be played right now. You know, you can play Ramatra, Orisa, Reinhardt in proper situations. You could have just played Roadhog, but they nerfed him. There are Junker Queen, but there are a few at the bottom, and unfortunately, you know, it is Zarya who's down there most of the time. It is Wrecking Ball, it's Reinhardt who are down there most of the time, and those tanks are just not in a proper spot. Playing those tanks, and I don't mean this as an insult to any specific player, playing characters that aren't viable on your own time is one thing, but when you are in a collegiate season and you are here to win, there are sometimes you have to play things you don't want to. I know that really stinks, and like, that's not fun, but to be viable, to put success on the table, you've got to play Ram. You've got to play Orisa. And if it doesn't work right now, that doesn't mean you just default to comfort picks. That means you keep practicing and you keep learning and you keep improving. Luckily enough, it is the first week of the split, the longer of the 2 splits. So you have an extended amount of time to try and make this work. So using this first week as just a springboard for the rest of the season, I think is a very viable choice.
Yeah, and you have 2.5 months to try and get it through. It's like, you have a lot of time. As you said, even if they pulled the Winston, I would not be upset, because Winston in the right composition plays really well right now. We've seen that meta kind of creeping around certain collegiate leagues, not as much here, but we've seen other collegiate leagues where that has been the meta for a lot of the teams, with the Winston, the Tracer, the Soldier in some of the times, sometimes the Reaper as well, Lucio Kiriko. It is that old school rush that it can work, because if you just breeze by the Ramatra, there's not much they can really do. But that is a team comp that you need a lot of communication. And even UTA tonight, some of their rotations, they get split up. Sometimes in these engages, like the Nano during the minefield, you got to use one or the other. You should not be using both at once. So the communication needs to be there to run that comp. And so for UTA, again, maybe it is with Shing being new, or so, you know, some of these new members being involved, but you got to figure it out at one point in time, whether it be, hey, today, next week, next month, you got to figure it out at some point if you're UTA. And I think going back to the Ramatra is the right call. And I actually don't mind this. Put a lot of the weight on your DPS, who we know can hit shots.
Yeah, absolutely. Dez is a very talented DPS. Has spent many of their years at UTA considered to be kind of the upper echelon of DPS players in the EGFC, and I'd like to see Dez kind of return to that fray, but it's Andrew who steals the smoke early, dismisses Nate from the fight in Delaware. They fall into a 4-5 scenario. Losing a DPS isn't traditionally enough for a team to completely backpedal, but I like what Delaware is doing. They're getting closer to where that DPS will be when they return from spawn. Here comes that form early on. Wants to find some damage, but not able to line it up yet. Tomato Lord returns to the fray. Pod takes down Andrew. Dez will fall to Ideal Warrior, and I've got to say it here. UT Arlington, they got a single pick, and they scattered like ants. They immediately split up, and they got picked off for it.
Yeah, again, it goes down to the communication. They got split up trying to push 2-on-4 when the bot doesn't even move quite yet. So yes, you have to move up a little bit, but you can't get that split when a Tracer is on the field, and now all of a sudden, Delaware is right back into this opening fight.
Yeah, you need to take the possession of the bot, and you don't extend. Personally, I think, and take my diamond opinion as you will, but I don't think there's a need to extend everybody until you've got the bot moving even a little. You know, there's no point in taking space that you can't use yet. It's about protecting the bot and keeping the team up and running. Hyper is not going to be able to keep their team running anymore, at least for this next couple of seconds. Dez going to return to the fight as well, and it's going to be a good flank, a full charge railgun. Does not find a headshot, unfortunately, and Ideal Warrior has more than enough HP to keep that dream up and running. Holy cow, that thing charges fast. My goodness, another railgun off the clock immediately. Andrew, blood in the water, can smell Pod on the flank and just does not want to run the risk. They're looking for Andrew as well, and I love what we're seeing. Andrew going to whip the shot, the shield catching Ideal Warrior's javelin, and poor Andrew boxed out of the equation. Annihilation online. Hyper down first, second fight in a row, and that should be the green light for Arlington to really start dominating this fight again. Ideal Warrior cannot javelin spin long enough, and that ultimately comes to a close as Arlington puts this first fight win officially to a close.
Delaware tries to get aggressive there as soon as the Terra Surge is over and just try and push in with Javelin Spin, but the thing is, Tomato Lord right behind you with Annihilation will just chase you down and punish you when you're not looking at him. So now Delaware swap back over to the Ramattra. Realize, okay, the rest was fun when they weren't playing Ramattra on the other side. Now that they are, we should probably swap back over.
I think that can completely be reasonable. The beat has to come out and answer for both the Dragons and the Kitsune. And Hyper, third fight in a row, will be the first to fall. But this is the break Arlington needs, right? They needed somebody to start being that sacrificial lamb in order for them to succeed. And unfortunately, it's been Hyper 3 times in a row. It is going to be traded out. Shing will fall at the arrow of Nate 12. And the overclash from Dez is unfortunately pretty null and void. Almost gives their life for an attempt at that headshot onto Hanzo. But Dez is running for their lives. Tracer does not have damage fall off anymore. It started as a bug, and the devs said, no, we did that on purpose. And we all knew they were lying, but they never took it out of the game. And Pod doing a great job using that to remove Dez from the fight. Delaware has returned, and only 30 meters gained in 3 minutes. Delaware is not shaking yet at all. They are fully ready to win this back.
Oh, 100%, especially Hyper. As long as he doesn't die first for the 4th fight in a row, I think they're especially in a great spot. As at least for that last fight, Juno was the one support that was alive, so they were at least able to keep everyone up. Stink Badge on the other side just can't put out that much healing.
Yeah, unfortunately, Lucio, a very strong character, but not exactly for his healing output. It's more about the boop and the speed and a lot of other things that can bring him to fruition. But Ideal Warrior absolutely going to out-damage a Lucio AoE. Luckily enough, Suzu is there to keep Tomato Lord up and running. Can't get an annihilation of their own, unfortunately. So Delaware will continue to roll and take the lead here. All of a sudden, they're 6 minutes shy of their 3rd map win in ending tonight.
It seems like anytime Tomato gets over-aggressive and Pod has that pulse bomb, it's always on him. No matter what's going on, because it's like, okay, if you can knock him down a little bit, no matter what, you're damaging his health by a lot, and that makes him be a little bit more passive. They have to play more counter-attacking instead of being aggressive like the Ramattra kit wants to be. So now, right before that first take, UTA have another opportunity here to hold above bridge.
That underneath bridge is going to probably be reliant on UT Arlington's Annihilation. Here it comes from Tomato Lord with Dragons from Nate. It's a confusing mashup there, as it does allow Delaware. It's like a smoke and mirrors trick. The Dragons come out, so you get out of the way, and all of a sudden the entire team that was in front of you has been sped out of the equation. Might be a Kitsune here. I'm surprised the beat from Hyper is not dropped in answer to the Kitsune. Wow, got really risky to hold on to that, but apparently it was worth it, because it looks like Delaware will continue to lead with a dominance. They send their own Kitsune out the gate. Stink Badge has to drop it. Dragons from Andrew gonna clear sight once again, and oh, Nate already 1 HP will fall late to those Dragons. Dez blinking into the back line, can't find an elimination. I've got to say, I respect Dez and I have a lot of appreciation for them, but I don't think it's much focus as we're seeing on the tanks from them. Perhaps it's just to farm the railgun, but I think Sojourn gets a lot of her value by one-shotting, and you're never gonna one-shot a tank.
No, I think their game plan, at least for the most part, has been build up charge, then Ideal Warrior, especially when they're in that Nemesis form. Their hitbox almost doubles, and then try and look for a shot in that backline. But it's weird to say, We are over halfway through this game, and we have yet to have a tick on the board from either side.
Yeah, that is honestly insane. It is a very close combat. Nobody has been able to get that first pick, and the respawn advantage from it could probably help them roll the rest of this stage. But as they don't find the advantage, they have to win tooth and nail. A late annihilation from Ideal Warrior with an overclock from Dez to boot. Bye-bye Hyper. Bye-bye Ideal Warrior. Hello, UT Arlington. Welcome back to the fray, but unfortunately, Dez just can't line up the shot. And it's a 2-2 trade. Tomato Lord will find Nate trying to be the hero UT Arlington needs. And that might be just enough. They should be able to take the lead and maybe even a first point cap here, so.
Depending, Pod should be in a position to release touch. You can see them on the left side of your screen just getting ready. And Ideal Warrior now in that spot where you're technically contesting right above bridge.
Contesting above bridge, you're absolutely right. It does count as a contest. Kitsune from Delaware, they want to win this out. Winning by less than a meter is winnable. I've done it before. I've seen teams do it before. And Delaware wants to try it out now. They want to win with 0.14 meter differential. But if they've completely dominated this fight, they've at least stalled Arlington for a couple more minutes. 3 minutes is not enough to call this a one and done. They're going to have to win several more fights to ensure they don't lose their lead. Wait, They lost their lead.
Yeah, UTA snuck it in, 0.23. And again, that last fight, Pod, as soon as Tomato Lord uses Annihilation, chucks the pulse bomb, kills him. UTA's whole win condition out the window. And Andrew now has that Dragon Strike. If they want to use it, try and separate Delaware. Last time it worked very well and caught off Nate. We'll have to see if this time around they're able to get that same success.
Bot will get slowed out, and can UT Arlington really clutch this out by less than a meter, less than half a meter? It would be incredible to see. And I wonder if they're going to be able to do it. A couple of ultimates in the arsenal on both sides, but this fight definitely a slow one. I want to keep an eye on Andrew's Dragons and see if the beat from Hyper will be used to cancel it, or if the Annihilation will cause the beat to be dropped from Stank Badge. I think this is a massive game of chicken on which team chooses to drop the beat first. Tomato Lord on the brink of extinction, but who is going to be healed up by those supports. Luckily enough, it's Nate that falls first. The break that UT Arlington needs to try and win this fight, but if the answer back from Delaware shows itself quickly, they could find themselves on top. Shing drops the Kitsune, and this is another fight win for UT Arlington with only 128 seconds left on the clock here. I mean, Salty, they might sneak this out. Arlington might force them at 4.
They could win it here with 0.23. Obviously, Delaware should have plenty of time to recontest the spot before he hits tick. But they do have 3 ultimates on the board. Could have a 4th on the way. So UTA already trying to get that advanced positioning. Trying to send Dez up to that top left, but immediately has to drop.
Oh, Pod catches a lot of a Storm Arrow. Still has that Pulse Bomb online and chooses to throw it at the very moment the beat was being dropped, so it's completely null and void from the team and their preparations moving forward. A lot of damage from the University of Delaware, and in these final 80 seconds, this is exactly the break they needed to find their successes later down the line. I'm just not sure it's going to be enough, Salty. They had to throw a lot out, probably the kitchen sink as well, and Dez goes for the reset, wants to regroup with Arlington in a 0.23 meter separation, and this next fight will probably be the last full combat to decide which team can win this matchup.
If you're UTA, you want to try and use this overclock early, try and get that opening pickup. Do not allow Delaware to try and set up and get theirs. As well, Drew now has that continuing run if they need it. Oh, they got the lead!
Here we go. It's an Annihilation online. Juno will be taken down by Dez. The overclock is online. I am amazed that Arlington is able to hold this. It is just such a breakneck speed, but they aren't able to hold it long enough, and Delaware snuck in. They got the lead. It's amazing how this will be separated by probably a meter or less at the end of it. It's breathtaking.
Game plan immediately changed for Delaware. It went from we need to get this at all costs to now just save ultimates for this last fight.
Hey, the plan changed, and it looks like Delaware knew exactly what they needed to do. Oh my goodness, I was stoked to see Circuit Royale for the second time tonight, but my dream, just like UT Arlington's, is certainly going to be shattered right here. 14 seconds, a complete and total team kill, and they're smart enough to know, just hop off the bot, baby. Don't bring it any closer to them to make it that much harder for Arlington to even try to extend this game, but it looks like they will not be able to, as nobody's even close. We'll take down to the final second. They get pulled in somehow, some way. There's a sneak through to the bot, and it's Tomato Lord back out of the Wrecking Ball. It is full desperation there, pulling all the stops. The overclock from Dez is not going to be enough, as another annihilation from Ideal Warrior is online. Just flawless gameplay. University of Delaware, all 5 of them very strong, but I've got to say, this map belonged to the Ideal Warrior. The Ideal Warrior, they were indeed to help Delaware win this one out in regulation. That is a 3-0 win for for Delaware against UT Arlington.
What a performance from them. What a statement as well. Going into this, 2 teams very high in the standings. We think very highly of them, and Delaware's like, you need to look at us now. Like, you've kind of looked at us in the past, but eyes definitely on them now. Is what a performance. Ideal Warrior just seemed like this is his character. He played so well every single time, and it just seemed like Tomato Lord never could settle in because of how well he was playing, and as well the support around. Pod was always communicating when they were going in, helping out, finishing those targets that got hit by the pummel. And man, the Blue Hens, they're flying high right now, that's for sure.
They absolutely are. They're flying beyond the atmosphere. Fly them to the moon, because they are living among the stars of the EGFC right now. We're going to go ahead and throw it to a super short break. We're going to be right back with either an interview or a closer. I don't know, and you won't either until we get back. We'll see you in just a few. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back just one more time here tonight at the EGFC Overwatch 2. We are joined by Hyper, and also in frame is Ideal Warrior, the Ramatra legend who tore it apart today on the series. So Hyper, my first question, a very simple one. Y'all put a win on the board. I mean, you start strong. You had one loss the last season, and you're a team that we talked a lot about tonight. You guys have always been good, but breaking that upper echelon has kind of always been a problem. Breaking that podium has been the problem. But I truly believe if you keep playing like you are tonight, I think that's going to be easy for you guys to hit top 3. Moving into the future, is this the future of the Blue Hens? Is this what we're seeing in terms of composition in meta? Is this a really good meta for you guys? Or is it the adaptation that you have? Is it the Ideal Warrior deadlifting the team to success? Is there a new face to the Blue Hens that we're going to be seeing this split?
As far as this spring goes, I think it's going to be the same team as the fall. I think the big change is definitely the coaching staff. We picked up a new coach over the winter. So I think that's going to be really helpful going out throughout the spring. But as far as the meta goes, I think we're going to be pretty good. I feel like we're definitely a flexible team where we can play a lot and play whatever, and then hopefully adapt to what other people are playing as well. Like, especially tonight with them on the wrecking ball.
Yeah.
It was just kind of like weird. So it wasn't like too hard, but it was just kind of like confusing at first, I think. And some of the strategies were really creative, and so they definitely got a lot of value at it at first. But once we were able to figure it out, I think like that just kind of shows like how adaptable we are. So hopefully with a new meta coming next week, we'll be on top of it and ready to go.
Yeah, definitely. You know, you showed the Orisa tonight, the Ramacha, the Winston, as well as a lot of diversity in that DPS line. How are you guys feeling now going into the spring split? Obviously, now 7-1. Only loss was a long time ago. How are you guys feeling now going into this the rest of the spring split?
I think we feel good. I think this is a good way to start it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the team we played tonight was second, and then next week we play the first ranked team.
Yep.
And then we'll play these same two teams 2 more times throughout the semester. So those are really the games we're looking at, is the one against next week, and then whenever we replay them. So I don't know. We feel confident looking to go into the playoffs, and I think that's really where our focus is. Like the playoffs, really just trying to develop our players as much as we can, so that when we get to the LAN or wherever we are, we're ready to go. Because I think our record's done pretty well this season, and I don't know if we're in the playoffs yet or not, but I think we're pretty confident we'll get there.
I think you've got to be up there, yeah.
I think you'll be there. We'll have to see when it's official.
Yeah, if you guys aren't, I don't know who is. So
yeah. And I will say, how was it tonight? Obviously, we were talking a little bit before we went live. Ideal Warrior was playing from your living room tonight. How was having one of your teammates in house?
It was pretty interesting. So Delaware, we haven't even started school yet. So we had one practice on Monday.
Oh my goodness!
But yeah, our school starts next week, and it's syllabus week. So it's like,
wow.
No one's on campus. It's just him from the winter session, and then I just got back like yesterday or the day before. So it's kind of chaos. We were picking up one of the PCs from the arena this morning, which was interesting because the staff were like, "Okay, you got to do this and this, and be careful," you know, and. So that was fun. It's been a good time. We went to the zoo today. We saw the red pandas.
Nice. Sounds like you guys have had an amazing day. Gotta get to pick up a PC, red pandas, playing from a living room, a 3-0. Yeah. I mean, come on. Gotta be a good day, right?
How was the wooden stool?
Off a stool? That's absurd. That's absurd. He played better sitting on a stool than I ever have in a gaming chair. That's breathtaking.
Oh, we got the headset swap.
Ideal Warrior, what kind of animal are you, dog? That's insane. Off a wooden stool in a living room on a computer that isn't yours, and that's how you play? That's insane.
Yeah, it was also, honestly, the worst part was that the stool didn't have armrests. So my elbows were elevated the entire time.
Dog! No, couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. That's incredible. Well done. Warrior, we'll ask you the last question, and then we'll let y'all go celebrate. Anybody you want to give a shout out or a thank you to, just as a program, or either of you, just while we've got you here?
Yeah, I would like to shout out.
Let's hear it. Come on, hit me with it. Come on.
Shout out Twinkle Toes. Another tank player who sadly could not make it today, but he's in some good stuff. So yeah, I want to shout him out.
Absolutely beautiful. Hey, a huge congrats on the 3-0 victory. I've got a hunch we'll be interviewing y'all a little more often, so we'll see you soon.
Thank you. See ya.
And with that, folks, as all good things must, that does bring tonight to an end. It has been a very fun night. You know, there's a lot of 3-0s. We snuck a 3-1 in there, and we got a couple of upsets. Delaware is putting on a brand new face. They are showing off left, right, and center, and I've always been a fan of Delaware, but I'm super excited to see what they're going to be doing down the line. Thank you to all 6 teams that came out tonight. Thank you to our producer/observer, Aeon, in the back line, for doing literally everything that isn't just me and Twin Salty sitting at home. Salty, thank you for joining me, and of course, thank you all for watching. We love each and every one of you. Check your posture, drink some water, don't forget to love each other, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.